Everyone knows there are 20 managers in the Premier League, yeah? Well, actually, no. Around 3/4 of them are not managers. The terms manager and head coach are often used interchangeably to describe Premier League bosses, but they're actually two different jobs. So let's explain how and why. For years, fans referred to Mikel Arteta as Arsenal's manager, but I'm afraid technically...
I don't think so, no.
From his first day on the job, he was the Gunners' head coach. Let's pick a random moment in time, February 2025. Only 6 Premier League bosses actually held the official title of manager rather than head coach. Man City's Pep Guardiola, David Moyes of Everton, Ipswich boss Kieran McKenna, Southampton's Ivan Juric, Oliver Glasner at Crystal Palace and Leicester's Ruud van Nistelrooy were the only actual managers of their respective teams. Everyone else? That's right, head coach, including Ruben Amorim at Man United. He took over from Erik ten Hag, a man who had held the title of manager. Might come as a surprise that Amorim's appointment marked the first time ever that Man United had a head coach instead of a manager. But to understand why they made that decision, you also have to get what the difference is between a head coach and a manager. A manager's got a huge range of responsibilities. They're not just in charge of training and player lineups, they're also heavily involved in player sales and transfers. Critical stuff. But a head coach's role is far more focused on team training and performance on the pitch. So whereas Ten Hag was highly involved with decisions around transfers during his tenure, the intention was that Amorim wouldn't be, at least not on the same level. And as the sporting structure at Man United changed under Sir Jim Ratcliffe, people like Sir Dave Brailsford took charge of transfers instead. How all those roles play out in practice may be slightly different at different clubs though. On the other hand, the contracts of actual managers like Pep or Moyes had no limits on their job role and their involvement with transfers and contracts. But those guys are actually in the minority now, and it's a change that's happened pretty quickly. In 2019, there were only 6 head coaches in the Premier League, but by 2025, there were 14. A clear indication that more and more clubs are moving towards a model where the guy in charge is actually only really in charge on the pitch. And the way things are going, it might not be long before all 20 clubs have got head coaches, and the job position of football manager in the top flight is no more.
Happy anniversary to Ruben Amorim. He celebrates exactly 1 year as Manchester United boss. We're going to spend our first hour looking at his impact at the club, whether he's the man to take them back to their former glories, and if they're heading in the right direction under Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Omar Barada and Jason Wilcox. United fans, do you trust the process? 03717 223344. I thought we'd already accepted there's no loyalty in football, but Rob Edwards' potential move to Wolves has got under the skin of so many neutrals. Why? You can have your say on that. We'll also hear from Arsenal's Bukayo Saka. He joins up with the England squad, having already secured a World Cup berth. What do you want to see from Thomas Tuchel and his side in their final 2 qualifiers? We'll find out what Chris Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn make of their son's second duel this weekend. A Fulham mulling over a managerial change. Former Liverpool winger Jermaine Pennant alongside me. I might ask him about the crisis at Anfield too. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT. And for the next hour, we're going to look back at Ruben Amorim's first year in charge of Manchester United.
Verbally, Amorim has already agreed to this move, so it's just really a question of United agreeing to pay compensation to Sporting, and then this move will happen.
Amorim, I think, you look at what he's done at Sporting, he's shown that he could turn the team around quickly.
Manchester United still with only one away win in the Premier League this season. That was at Southampton.
Manchester United, they beat Leicester well, they beat Southampton well. You know, they usually knock over promoted teams. They might struggle against some of the better teams, but they have struggled here. In towards Joe Linton, up there with a header, and it's past Onana and into the corner, and Manchester United are 2-0 behind. The honeymoon is over for Ruben Amorim.
It's a big summer for him to get players in to make a difference. It's going to take 2 or 3 windows. It's whether he's given time. If he loses enough football matches, there is no way on earth he'll keep his job.
The full-time whistle has blown. The Manchester United players sink to the ground in frustration. It's finished Manchester United 0, Arsenal 1.
We can win any game, so if we think about just winning the next game, that is the most important thing. We can win the next game.
They've obviously backed him of what he wants to do, because as I said, he's made some big calls, and it looks at the moment anyway that things are on track a little bit.
It's finished Manchester United 4, Brighton and Hove Albion 2. It was a well-deserved win for the home side.
When you're a manager, you need 3 years to turn things around. I think things are going the right way.
It's one of the biggest honors of my life to be here, and I want to continue here for many years.
Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants him to continue too. 3 years, he says he needs to prove that he is a top-class manager and to turn the club around. We're going to take your calls this hour and discuss a year of Ruben Amorim at Manchester United. By the way, I should tell you, just underway over on talkSPORT 2 tonight. Virtue Trophy footballers Stockport host Wigan. Cameron Pope and former England defender Mickey Gray are your commentary team. Plymouth Argyle already a man down away at Bristol Rovers, in need of course, some positivity under Tom Cleverley, bottom of League One at the moment. Anyway, Flex, co-host of Inside Devils YouTube channel, of course, here at talkSPORT, and former Liverpool winger Jermaine Pennant. Good evening, how are you?
Good, I'm very good.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah, feeling nice. How you're okay?
No, I'm okay.
Sure?
I've been better.
Yeah, just had a look at the Premier League table, and the name of Manchester United is above the name of Liverpool there.
Ooh.
Who thought our rivalry this season would be a race for a place in Europe, full stop?
Yeah, that's all it is.
That's all it is, yeah.
Listen.
Transition.
You might get
You'll
Conference
just go
League.
for Europe at the same time.
A little bit of Conference League next year would be good for Liverpool.
You two get Liverpool out of your mouth. Okay, we're not in the same league. We're not fighting for... Me and you are not fighting for Champions League. We've got a Champions League.
Okay.
We're fine.
We'll talk Liverpool in the final hour. Let's start with Ruben Amorim at Manchester United. United's 2-2 draw at Spurs on Saturday means they're currently unbeaten in 5 games. That's their longest run without defeat under Amorim. 3 wins, 2 draws in that time. He was confirmed on Friday the 1st of November last year. Ruud van Nistelrooy was in interim charge, though, so Amorim's first match, a 1-1 draw at Ipswich, took place on Sunday the 24th of November. But Amorim officially took charge on Monday the 11th of November. United finished 15th under Amorim last year and, of course, lost the Europa League final 1-0 against Spurs. They were knocked out in the quarter-final of the Carabao Cup, also against Spurs. The FA Cup 5th round, they were knocked out against Fulham. This season, United have been as low as 16th and 14th twice, but they're currently 7th in the league, and they've been as high as 6th. 18 points from 11 games, 1 point off the top 4, 8 points off first place. Where are Manchester United right now? I'll start with you, Jermaine.
Manchester United, for me, look, I've seen improvements, but there's nothing to, I would say, rave about at the moment. We've seen results against away at Nottingham Forest, seen results Tottenham. So yes, they've got better going forward. There's more goals in that team now with Cunha and Wemmer. I think are being great signings, but I think there's still question about their midfield and their defence. Defensively, still look vulnerable. But they're in a better place than they were, but they're still miles off it where Man United should be. This is my team.
I think that's fair. To be honest with you, that's very fair. We needed stability and calm. What was happening was we were losing every single week or every other week. You can't build any confidence. You can't build any momentum. And every single loss is catastrophic, and you can't build a football club back to where it needs to be if you're continually on that pendulum. So this last 5 games has gone a long way, probably being celebrated more than it should at the club of the size of Man United. But from where we're coming from, i.e. 15th, losing that Europa League final, the start to this season, heavy defeats to Brentford, heavy defeat to City, getting knocked out against Grimsby. So not a good start in all competitions in like the first 4 games in all comps, to where we are now has been needed. You can't say Man United are back. You can't say Man United have indefinitely turned a corner. I think you can just say that Manchester United have improved. I think by proxy, when you sign Premier League proven players like Cunha and Mbeumo, we're getting our rewards for that, because you get instant impact. Essentially, we've signed 4 starters in the summer in Sesko, the keeper Sonny Lamons, and the 2 players I just mentioned in Cunha and Mbeumo respectively. And that has improved our squad. Sesko is in and out dependent on the game because he's young and needs time. Sonny Lamons is a monumental upgrade on Andre Onana, just by doing basics correct, just by claiming crosses, just by parrying a shot out of danger, just by kicking it long into good areas. Basic goalkeeping, but the bar was low. So he's bred an era of confidence. But as Amorim has kept saying in this recent upturn of form, which I actually do like, he's saying, people keep saying we've got better because, you know, the results have improved, but we are, like Jermaine just said, miles off where we want to be. There's work to do. Midfield's still a massive problem, etc.
Let's hear from Ruben Amorim after Matthias de Ligt's last-second equaliser at Spurs on Saturday. That was their unbeaten run extended to 5 games, as I mentioned, the longest run under Amorim. I wonder how the mood would have differed had they lost that game. But let's hear what he had to say to talkSPORT after the game.
It's really important because it's that feeling of not going home with a losing feeling. That is really important. But again, my players need to understand that we lose 2 points. The feeling in the end is different, but in my head, we lost 2 points, like we lost 2 points against Nottingham. So we need to win the next game. It's going to be in our home, and we need to. Today we had a different energy if you compare against Nottingham, but it's not enough.
Okay.
We need to have a different energy.
Things change very quickly. Before this unbeaten run, Manchester United lost 3-1 at Brentford at the end of September, and it felt like the writing was on the wall. It was just like, how long can this go on? And what we've seen over the last 5 games, I don't think has actually personally changed my mind over whether Ruben Amorim should be the Manchester United manager. But what I'm seeing is, especially after the comments of Sir Jim Ratcliffe saying that he needs some time to show that he's going to be a great manager and we have a plan. Jason Wilcox has come out as well. Essentially, the sporting director has come out recently to say there's a plan, there's a strategy, and Ruben Amorim's part of it. What I see now in United is actually a manager who might take them a level up, but isn't going to worry the best teams in the Premier League over the next 3 or 4 years. I don't see it. Unless we see a bigger body of evidence. I mean, even the last 5 games, But that's what it's about. I think what's difficult as a United fan, right? And I've been there, right? Because I was saying this the other day on a podcast that, like, we actually do need to keep calm, but it's really difficult to do that because we're looking for answers and we're looking for validity, and we're looking for instant, like, we're okay, we're on the right path. And that's really difficult to do when you're losing so many games. That's why now, for me, I'm on, like, the real short-term goals. The short-term goals, forget getting back to the top just for a moment. Man United needed to stabilise and win some football matches. That's it. Forget tactics, forget this, that and the other and Ruben's principles and just where we were, you just got to win some football matches. And it's already brought some calm. How good a manager is Ruben Amorim?
He's an okay manager. I'm not going to say he's in the top 5 in the league. I think, yeah, he may take Man United or improve them, you know, in this season and maybe next season. But that's all it's going to be. Unless you get better players, you're not going to see this same team in 2 or 3 years all of a sudden challenging.
No, it won't look like this team. It won't.
You know, it
won't.
He can only do so much. If you've got a certain players in your team that can only go to a certain bar of ability, It doesn't matter what kind of tactics you've got or what you implement to make formations or whatnot. If you haven't got the players to challenge Arsenal, to challenge Man City, it doesn't matter who you have in the tunnel. It doesn't matter who you have in the dugout, barking you orders. Yeah, you can do well with a good manager, but until you start bringing in better players, like you started from the top, you start with Kuna and Mbeumo, that's a great selection. Now you've got a decent keeper in, that's a good start. Now you need top midfielders. Yeah, you've got one Bruno, but you need a different style of player. Defensive midfielder with legs. Defensively, you need top defenders. I wouldn't say Harry Maguire, Yori Leno, and De Ligt are top of the top defenders to challenge, top teams in the Premier League.
Stepping stones. It is about stepping stones. Like, to build a team that's worthy of getting to title challenges. I hate to use the lazy Arsenal comparison, but like, they didn't start by getting the players that they've got now. They've got to this point by continually.
It's a 5-year process.
Do you see what I'm saying? And I haven't been the most patient. I've been there, angry. I've been negative with Hugh. I've been there, but I have taken a step back at times and gone, do you know what? You do have to have stepping stone players to get you to be a competitive team again, first off. And then again, like we were discussing, then you go, right, you need better than Dorgu and Dalot. You need better than Casemiro. You need, if what's going to happen with Bruno, is he going to leave? You need better options off the... What's happening now, actually, is, mate, as soon as Casemiro leaves the pitch, the drop-off to, like, Ugarte or Kobe can't even get... We've got nothing in midfield. Nothing. There's no control over games. So right now, I think we're just better just because we bought better individuals at this time, and then the confidence is coming in. I think the hierarchy do know and are aware, hence the links to people like Elliot Anderson now or Wharton. Those are the next step of, like, right, how are you going to fix the midfield? The same way they ripped out the attack in the summer, because our biggest thing was we conceded about the same amount of goals as everybody else, 50-odd, but the goals we conceded, it was only Everton who scored less than us out of the 3 teams who went down. Shocking. So they just put a whole new attack in. That surgery will be on the midfield in the summer.
Okay, plenty for us to discuss this hour when it comes to Manchester United. If you've got a view on Ruben Amorim and his future, give us a call, 03717 22 3344. We're going to hear from Sir Jim Ratcliffe. We'll also hear from Dimitar Berbatov, former United striker, after the break. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org. We'll discuss Ruben Amorim on his 1-year anniversary as Manchester United manager and look ahead to what the future might hold. Stay with us. You're listening to Kick Off on talkSPORT. Hugh, Woozencroft with you, as is Jermaine, Pennant and Flex. We're talking Manchester United. Ruben Amorim made it. He made it 1 year into the job. Our reflections on Ruben Amorim's time so far as Manchester United manager. You can drop us a text on 81089. I'll read out a few of those in a moment. First, though, let's get an odds update with Ladbrokes.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Let's welcome Chris Wood to the show. Chris, we're talking about Manchester United and Ruben Amorim this hour. Any specials on those two teams? Well, United and their boss.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we've got obviously things have turned around for him a little bit. He was odds on to leave before the end of the season at one point, but he's 5-2 to leave before the end of this season now. Obviously there has been a bit of a change, but things can still go south pretty quickly. We've also we've priced up them to finish higher than Liverpool this season at 5-2, finish higher than City this season at 11-2, and looking ahead to the league next season, they're 20-1 to win the league next season, 14-1 to win the Europa League. That's all in with whether they qualify for it or not, and 100-1 to win the Champions League next season.
Interesting, very interesting indeed. Okay, Chris, thank you so much for being with us. That was a look at the latest odds with Ladbrokes, 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Little 14-1 on the Europa League. Looks interesting, yeah.
We'll be in the Champions League next year, mate. Don't need to.
Okay, all right, let's talk about it anyway. A few of your texts coming in on 81089. This is from, I think it just says, United fan here. Of course I trust the process. We may have had a bad run, but if Liverpool trust their process, ours is definitely one to trust in. Amorim's players have been doing well. Slot gets his own players, and he's become Jurgen Flop. Collie says, when life gives you lemons, make Amrinade. Love it. And this one, no name on here. I don't know how anyone can give United negative feedback right now. This guy mustn't be watching matches. We've been looking better behind the ball, better defensively, better behind goal. Some people are stuck in last season. Okay, all right, we're going to discuss it all this hour. Let's hear from Sir Jim Ratcliffe, co-owner of Manchester United. Remember, he was talking to the Times podcast, The Business, a month ago. Here's what he had to say about Ruben Amorim's future.
We have to be patient, and we have a long-term plan. It isn't a light switch, and you can't run a club like Manchester United on knee-jerk reactions to some journalist who goes off on one. He needs to demonstrate that he's a great coach over 3 years.
So you give him 3 years?
Yeah, that's where I would be. Yeah.
Very interesting comments a month ago, which I disagreed with. I disagreed with them coming out and saying them. It didn't help, in my opinion. But since then, Man United's form has improved. So maybe the public vote of confidence is the reason for United's improved results. What do you think?
Maybe. But when those comments were said and they were put to Ruben, he said, they tell me this all the time in private. Like, it wasn't new news to him. So I don't feel like he got... Well, he didn't. He told us he didn't get any extra reassurance by those words being public. He said it's nice, but the conversations I have with Jason and Omar, etc., and Sir Jim, they tell me I knew this already.
But it lifted the pressure on him at that time when results weren't going
exactly.
well.
It puts pressure on him.
People were screaming for him to kind of be fired. A lot of people were.
Calm that down so that he's not. Yeah.
I'm not. The hierarchy clearly didn't want to get rid of him at that time, so it took a little bit of that pressure off.
I'm not going to say it was a turning point, but I think it had a huge factor on his future. The result at Anfield, beating Liverpool, was a massive statement, and I think had a great fight for his cause to keep him on. Would it have made a difference if they would have got beat 3 or 4-0? I think so.
It would have.
I think if they would have took a whooping and lost 3 or 4-0 like everyone ever expected, that would have knocked confidence. They would have maybe have lost the next couple of games on the back of that because they've been shot to bits. And I think then there would have been a different story coming out of Sir Jim Ratcliffe.
I wasn't incensed by what Sir Jim Ratcliffe said. I did push back on the narrative of like, oh, you don't just give 3 years, you have to earn it. But let's be honest, guys. You all know this. You especially know this. It's a results game. Even in those same quotes, he goes on to say, but ultimately, we're driven by results. Ruben Amorim saying, yeah, they've told me this, but he actually said, I don't really like this because it gives the idea that we have time. And we don't have time. We need to start winning matches now. And like Jermaine just said, if Man United went on to keep losing and losing and losing and losing, yeah, I want to give him 3 years. But he keeps losing football matches. He would lose his job. Yeah. So it's all dictated to by results.
When have you ever heard a chairman or owner come out and say, yeah, he's got 3 games? If he doesn't change, he's getting a sack.
Exactly.
You've never heard any owner
Doesn't
come
happen,
out
yeah.
and call out their manager unless you're Marinakis.
I think Darren McAnthony said Darren Ferguson needs to win at the weekend.
Okay. Well,
the odd few, but the
But
top,
Karen Brady was in here saying, Graham Potter, we're going to support him and this, that and the other. He went on to keep losing. It's like, well, what I said 2 weeks ago, don't stand. He has to leave.
What they say to the public and what's actually going on behind closed doors are 2 different things.
Well, let's find out what the public feel. Manchester United fans giving us a call on 03717 223344. The first is David. Good evening. David, do you trust the process?
Good evening, gentlemen. Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure.
Good evening, David.
I think we've spoken before about this subject, and we seem to disagree on Amorim because there's a lot of negativity surrounding the club at the moment, and there has been for a while. I just want to say about the Jim Ratcliffe interview. I genuinely think that was a stroke of genius from Ratcliffe, because it's funny how since he came out with that and he backed Amorim publicly, the players all of a sudden are starting to put in shifts all over the pitch. Whether that's because they now understand that throwing their toys out the pram, putting in mediocre performances, and being lapsadaisy on the pitch isn't going to get the manager sacked anymore, and they're going to get their own way. And we've seen this playing time in and time out over the last 10 years, certainly the last 5. So that's the one thing I wanted to say firstly, and I think it was a great move by Sir Jim. Amorim was getting pelted from absolutely everybody, even including fans, pundits, ex-players, everybody jumping on his back. We know now in football, there's no time. Nobody gets time in football anymore. But it's just the impatience is on a different level now. Let the man do his job. Now, we're talking about transfers, right? And I heard Jermaine, believes talking about the midfield still got problems, the defence still has problems. Yes, Jermaine, it does. But, it doesn't take one transfer window to turn it all around. So where do you start? And I think Amorim started at the right place. It was at the top of the pitch, where we've got players now that are willing to press, willing to run back just as much as they're willing to run forward, not players like Marcus Rashford, who are born around the corner from Old Trafford, and after losing 3-0 at home to Manchester City and not running back and tracking back time after time, will go out partying after the game. So now we've got players who are willing to run, willing to play, and can score goals. Now that alone, it gives the players and the team confidence, which is what we can see based on the last few results. And bear in mind, we have started the season pretty well, apart from a couple of bad results against Brentford and Grimsby. I don't really want to mention the Grimsby game again.
Don't mention that again. Don't worry.
David, appreciate your call. Getting us started did make some very good points indeed,
David.
and he's a positive Manchester United fan. So getting us off on the right foot. You can join us this hour, 03717 223344. Up next, we're going to continue to take your calls on Ruben Amorim and Manchester United. We'll hear from our boxing pundit, Gareth A. Davis, as well. He's been at the grand arrivals ahead of the rematch between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. That's live on talkSPORT on Saturday.
Cricket balls are red, baseballs are white, American footballs are brown, and tennis balls are yellow. We don't even think about it really, but the story behind the tennis ball is actually quite interesting and even involves Sir David Attenborough. I know, here's the tale. Tennis has its roots in 12th century France when people used to make balls from all sorts. Cork, wool, chalk, animal fur and even human hair. Uniformity was found centuries later when people started making balls out of something called vulcanized rubber, invented in the US. But the balls kept on breaking, so a British lawyer, who also loved tennis, suggested they put a flannel covering on the outside, and thus the tennis ball as we know it was born. One problem, it was either white or black. And when the controller of BBC Two, Sir David Attenborough, decided Wimbledon would be shown in colour on the BBC in 1967, no one could actually see the balls on telly. So the International Tennis Federation went away and created a new colour called Optic Yellow, which would show up without the need for a 4K LED display. Not that anyone had that in the 1960s, of course. Since then, all tennis balls have been covered in that material and have their trademark colour for that exact reason. Amateur tennis players and dogs worldwide are forever grateful. You could say the ITF aced it.
You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. Hugh Woozencroft with you, as is Flex and Jermaine Pennant, the former Liverpool wide man. Remember, talkSPORT brings you the massive rematch between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn this Saturday, live from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Heavyweight Dave Allen will join our expert boxing team that's going to keep you right across a busy fight week. You can watch along with us on the night over on the talkSPORT Boxing YouTube channel. Eubank Jr. versus Benn live this Saturday, 7 p.m. here on talkSPORT. You can watch it on DAZN as well. We're going to continue to discuss Ruben Amorim and Manchester United shortly, but now I'm delighted to welcome in our boxing pundit, Gareth A. Davis, who's been at the grand arrivals for this Saturday's rematch. Looking very dapper, as always, of course. Very fitting. Good evening.
Good evening, Hugh. Good evening, Jermaine and Flex. We've just kicked off on Kickoff. We've kicked off the week here with the grand arrivals at the Pelican, this beautiful kind of vaulted amphitheatre at Canary Wharf. Both men, the denouement of the walkouts, the grand arrivals, looking in phenomenal shape. Chris Eubank, very, very cool. Conor Benn, very cool. On a day when we had their fathers, as you'll all know, at talkSPORT for half the day.
Yes, absolutely right. Let's hear from Chris Eubank Sr. in the studio with Wyatt and Jordan earlier today, refuting claims that he was paid to attend the first bout in those dramatic scenes.
Paid? You can't buy me. I don't work that way.
But were you paid?
You were paid. So hold on. So Simon has come in there and he's actually now he wants to press the point. I was not paid a penny, and I didn't take a penny. I was offered money. I would never take a money. You know why? You know why? Because integrity doesn't work that way. That's why I'm done, Gorgon. That's why I am trusted. That's why I am loved. Why? Because I am true.
The unmistakable Chris Eubank Sr. then. He's on the latest episode of Talk Boxing. That's going to be out at 8 p.m. boxing fans. Drop in very, very soon. As ever, it's going to be an incredible interview. We got that a little bit earlier as well. Listen, it's great to see them back together. They got a documentary out at the moment as well, Gareth. Has that made this whole rematch, the first when we saw him in that dramatic, it's like WWE style entrance that he gave us, but also now the involvement of the two parents quite closely to build up to this fight, does it add to it?
Oh, it does. I mean, this is all about going back to 1990 and 1993 and those two terrific fights. The second one, of course, at Manchester United's football ground that Flex will appreciate, of course. 47,000 people there that night, on a night when they delivered again and it was a draw. But I think the family rivalry was really, in that first fight, shown to be carried on through the DNA of the Suns. Chris Eubank Sr. earlier, by the way, I do admire the way he is. He's very unhappy about this weight rehydration clause of £10 imposed on his son. I agree with him on that. I think the Boxing Board of Control should have stepped in and not allowed it. They're fighting at £160. He has to make that weight. He can't go £10 above it, or he's facing up to £1 million fine if he does so. Conor Benn, of course, is coming up 2 weight divisions for those that don't know. So they're trying to promotionally equalise the guys. But what that does, and this is where the old man is right, it puts a fighter at risk. It's a dangerous sport anyway, and weight draining is a very dangerous process.
Listen, it almost seems like after you say something like that, where the health of a fighter could be at risk, silly for me to ask you about the hype around the fight and whether it's going to justify what we see in the ring. You know, the great scenes behind you there. If you're watching with us on YouTube, you'll see that the red carpet is out. Plenty of stars this evening. Those are going to be involved in the fight, all having something to say about it as we begin the build-up to what will be an incredible fight week, I'm sure. Does all the glamour, the glitz and glamour detract for you from something that's fairly serious?
No, not at all. The big fights, these are both prize fighters. You felt the electricity coming off both men as they came past us as we did our Fight Night Daily podcast for the YouTube channel. These two guys feel like stars. That's why Turki Al-Sheikh and the Ring have invested 20-odd million pounds into this event. They're being paid massively. They are acting like stars. They've got their methods this week. Conor Benn's emotionless with his father, Nigel. Nigel was amazing in the studio earlier today as well. They didn't cross, I don't think, the old men. I think they kept them apart, did Ed Huntley and Romario, our producer and cameraman for the event. I think I had to keep the fathers apart. But Conor Benn's playing his part. He's keeping it cool, calm and collected. He's a very emotional guy. No, Hugh, it's very exciting to be around these events. I've been in boxing for over 35 years. It's always dangerous. Terrible things happen sometimes. It's an inherently dangerous sport. It's an unusual sport, but it's one in which Eubank Sr. said himself earlier on, guys are drawn to fight. They can't say no. And when there's a big payday on the line, they grab it with both hands. And that's what we have here. Unfinished business.
Gareth, thank you very much indeed. On the red carpet, looking like a young Tom Cruise. Just remember, of course, we'll have you covered with the fight this weekend. It's going to be live for you on DAZN as well, so make sure you're with DAZN for that. I had a big read to read and I've lost it. Right, I'll give you the read where you can find the fight straight after this. Stay with us on talkSPORT.
Boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Buy now at DA.
listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. Hugh, Woozencroft, Flex and Jermaine Pennant are with you. And a reminder, this Saturday, the unmissable rematch between Ben and Eubank Jr. will take place live from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. You can watch it live on Saturday. It is only on DAZN. So there you go. Listen, we're still talking about Manchester United. It's 1 year since Ruben Amorim officially took over as Manchester United boss. We're going to talk about things off the field in a moment and where Manchester United should be looking to finish first. So let's hear from the former Manchester United forward Cristiano Ronaldo, who spoke to Piers Morgan last week, said that Ruben Amorim is not going to do miracles at the club. Also, another ex-player, striker Dimitar Berbatov, gave his take to talkSPORT.
Ronaldo is coming from a mentality of winner all his professional career.
Yeah.
And I can back that up because for the 1 year that I used to play with him, you can I was seeing it like everybody else that he was preparing for something great. And this is what maybe United lost throughout the years because we didn't win the title since 2013, I think, last year of Sir Alex. We need to get that way of to feel the starvation that is there for the Premier League, get that back, and because of this, get the ambition of winning. And when you get all this, the miracles will come.
Great to hear from Dimitar Berbatov there, and interesting his reflections on Cristiano Ronaldo. Just when he said that phrase, preparing for greatness.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, do you know what? Across sport, not even just in football, right? Across sport, that is what the best teams are doing, right? They're not leaving any stone unturned when it comes to winning the big things, and maybe that's what Manchester United have done wrong over the past decade or so. Jermaine, I'll start with you. Just asking you, how far away do you think Manchester United are from generating that winning mentality?
Well, they can generate the winning mentality. It's all about no point winning, but you can't challenge to beat the top teams and challenge for the title. So they've got a winning mentality, but they still haven't got the consistency basis. They haven't got enough in the team in a depth to take it to the higher heights, to compete. And that's going to take, if you look at the price, I said 5 years. You need a good transfer window, and you can't get a full team in one transfer window. It's going to take a couple of seasons to get that transfer window and to get the right players in until you are, Man United, that force that they once were.
You mentioned the depth there, and you said it a little bit earlier on, just questioning the quality at Manchester United. What does the club need to do in the transfer window, Flex, to achieve, I don't know, top four, what do you think they should be looking at this season?
Well, what I think we should be looking at this season as an objective, getting into some form of Europe, like whether that's top 6, top 5 would be amazing. Obviously Champions League spaces, but I think if you can get Europa League as a minimum, if it's conference, it's conference. You don't really want to be in that, but Manchester United need to be in Europe. So I would say Europa League, and with 1 game a week, with teams getting tired, teams having a lot of games, we got a lot of rest between games. Where we are now as well, you've got to be looking at Champions League / Europa League for me. But in terms of what they need, they have to fix the midfield now. It's beyond a joke at the minute. Like Casemiro, to be fair to him, has had a massive turnaround. Like every time he leaves the pitch, we concede goals. We're actually better with him playing, but he's not the answer. He's not the answer. I think putting Bruno Fernandes into central midfield, I think has hurt his game and overall hurt the team. He's just a good enough player that he's still going to put numbers on the board. He's still going to get goals and assists because I think he's just that good. But in terms of controlling games, scaring opposition midfields, getting combative in there, if you've got Casemiro and Bruno as your two, you'll win some football matches, yes, but you're not going to kick on to the top level. So you need to go and get 2 top central midfielders. Manchester United need more wing backs, in my opinion. You need 2 top left wing backs.
It's a long list.
It's a long list because this is what Jermaine's saying. This is why we're not there yet. This is why we've got a lot to do.
And that's not going to happen in one transfer
Absolutely
window.
not. But in the summer, we can. In the summer, this summer coming, January, I'd like to go and get central midfielder, but I understand to try and get one of the big 3 of Anderson, Wharton, or Baleba, you're not going to get that in January. So I get it. Maybe can you get a little Conor Gallagher on loan to run around or just help bolster. But in this summer, they need to do exactly what they've done last summer, but in midfield. go and give it surgery. Casemiro, I think, will probably leave. He's on big wages. Ugarte, surplus for me. So you go and get 2 proper midfielders. Kobe Mainoo still can't get in. And then you need to get wing-backs and another centre-back, minimum.
A long way back.
Long way
Manchester
back.
United in your
Long way
opinion.
back. But progress has been made.
Just as we mentioned Cristiano Ronaldo not too long ago, I don't know if you saw the story today, Jermaine, that Ronaldo was asked whether the 2026 World Cup would be his last. He said, definitely yes. I'm going to be 41 years old. I think this is the moment for me in the big competition. So, as you would probably expect, it's going to be his last World Cup. But he's still scoring goals at international level. Do you think Manchester United got it wrong by letting him go?
Yes and no, because it's difficult, because if you've got a player who doesn't want to really play for the manager, but you've also got a player who's got undoubtedly ability, is amazing and can score your goals, it's difficult. Which one do you put first? Do you put the team first, or do you put the individual? And I think, Ten Hag obviously put Manchester United first and thought that with him in the team, it jeopardises the way we want to play, because he doesn't give me what another player is going to give me. So I understand the decision why Ten Hag didn't play him, but at the same time, when you're struggling as they were to score goals, and you've got someone like Ronaldo, it's a bit of a waste and a shame to not even have that in your ranks.
He scored 18 goals in his Premier League goals. That's a great return. But the problem that you've got with someone like Ronaldo, of course, the emotion. So when we signed him, oh my God, the hysteria. I'm not going to lie. That debut you had the second debut against Newcastle, I was there. He scores 2 goals. I'm thinking mad things. I'm like, oh, do you know what? I think we're actually going to win. I think we've got Varane, we've got Sancho, we've got Ronaldo. This is it. But that's just emotion, right?
Yeah.
The reality of the situation is that someone like Cristiano Ronaldo shouldn't be at Man United when it's going through such a torrid time.
Yeah.
He can't be around that. The standards are too low. He's not going to want to be there for the long haul. And if he's not the main guy who can just dictate everything, i.e. you got Erik ten Hag trying to find his way, there's players there that are subpar, and there's a lot of problems there. Can't build your team around that.
I do think we would have had a more rapid change. We're talking about the number of players being changed and stuff like that. I think with a figure like Ronaldo in the changing room, Manchester United would have been more aggressive with the changes that they've made to the playing squad and probably getting rid of Erik ten Hag. All of those things would have happened, I think, with someone like Ronaldo. We've heard previous players, Roy Keane's and Wayne Rooney's, talk about going to see the manager, going to see the hierarchy, and basically,
and Ten Hag wasn't having that.
And basically saying this isn't good enough. Our standards need to be better, or I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And actually, Cristiano Ronaldo did the same thing second time around at Manchester United, and they went, "We can leave."
Yeah.
And actually, you kind of think, should they have been on his wavelength more than their own in the way things have panned out in the last couple of years?
I don't think they could have got. The problem is someone like Ronaldo in that dressing room is so overpowering. And I just don't think we were set up to have him again the second time. Emotionally, as fans, it's great. But actually, the structure, which was an absolute total mess, because it wasn't what it was now,
and that's
wasn't
why,
there.
But that's why
so it was never going to work.
That's why I think the influence of Ronaldo might have been good. Because actually some of the...
If they listened to him...
Some of the figures at the football club weren't aggressive in a manner that I think...
Richard Arnold and that, Ed Woodward probably still did. Joke.
Do you know how difficult that must be for him, being in the Man United team, so successful, challenging for everything, and the juggernaut that they was, to then come back to then endure what he was doing under Ten Hag?
Let's very quickly hear from talkSPORT's chief football correspondent and Manchester United fan, of course, Alex Crook. He was on Inside Devils. He believes United will qualify for the Champions League.
There are so many leaders. Cunha is a leader. Did you watch the video that he put up of him sort of doing a tour of the training ground?
Yeah, it was brilliant, wasn't it? Yeah,
just the way that his personality radiates. That United dressing room has been lacking that. I've spoken about Bruno Fernandes. What people might not like a lot of the stuff he does on the pitch, but certainly off the pitch, he is everything you want from a Manchester United captain. Maguire, with the way that he's sort of built his career back up again, has shown great leadership skills.
What fighters.
Another. And I see Mbumo a little bit like that as well, to be fair. So, yeah, there's a lot more personality in that dressing room.
So, Crookie's house, understandably millennial grey, but he does have a portrait of Eric Cantona behind him, reminding us of better times. You can watch the latest episode of Inside Devils on the talkSPORT and talkSPORT Manchester United YouTube channels from 8 o'clock tonight. So, make sure you do check that one out. Very finally, on Manchester United, off the field, Sir Jim Ratcliffe Ineos Sport, the final word this hour, Flex, before you leave us. Have they done enough in the last year to take this club forward?
Jury's out.
Jason Wilcox?
Yeah, jury's out. Omar Barada, Christian Vivell. I think you see the teething problems when they first get there. You got like Sir Dave Brailsford and Jean-Claude Blanc all involved, and now these guys have stepped back. You had the Dan Ashworth debacle. So I think they've made mistakes, as you'd expect maybe a new hierarchy to do before they start to settle down. I think the beginning tenure wasn't great. Some of the decisions that they did, hanging on to Eric Ten Hag for too long when they clearly admitted they didn't want him, they invested into him, so you didn't really have the strength of character to go forward with that. But I do take into account that what Sir Jim Ratcliffe is saying now, or well, actually what Jason Wilcox is saying now, but backed up by Sir Jim Ratcliffe, is that they didn't have all the pieces to the puzzle in situ last summer. And I can see the difference and the contrast between the summer we just had and the summer before. A lot more strategic this year, a lot better thought out, and a lot better executed than the summer before. So I take that into account. It's still up in the air, but I think it's beginning to settle down and go in the right direction. I'd say that.
Okay, Flex, been a pleasure to be with you for the last hour. I know you've had
Cheers, mate.
a very long day. Been in the building since, what, 9:30 this
It's been here since 10 a.m.
So thank you very much for being with us for the first hour. We are, though, going to take your calls. We promised that we would, Manchester United fans. So give us a call on 03717 223344. Your views on the first year of Ruben Amorim straight after this.
For every good signing a club makes, there's bound to be a few that don't work out. And Man United have certainly had their fair share of those, especially since the end of their golden age under Sir Alex Ferguson. Here are just some of the Red Devils' worst signings since Fergie. First up, Alexis Sanchez. Sanchez joined United from Arsenal back in 2018 and became the highest paid player in the Prem. He'd averaged almost 1 goal every 2 games for the Gunners, but in his 45 games for Man United, he only managed 5 goals. Not what you want from a star striker. Next up, Radamel Falcao. He earned himself the nickname the Tiger for his sheer efficiency and the way he used to pounce upon the mistakes of defenders. But at Man United, he was way more pussycat than Tiger, to be honest. All he managed in 29 Man United games was 4 goals. Moving on, things couldn't have gone much worse for Jadon Sancho at Man United. Yeah, it would have been hard to outdo his Borussia Dortmund form, but 12 goals in 83 games is not great. Things got worse after a public fallout with manager Erik ten Hag. Sancho said he was being made a scapegoat. Ten Hag said there'd been a discipline issue. It all ended up with Sancho going back to Germany. Next, Erik ten Hag probably thought he was being smart in sticking to what he knew when he signed Antony from his former club Ajax. But the £86 million Brazilian hasn't really been able to hack it in the Prem. Chances are Antony's Man United days are numbered. Next, the curse of the Man United number 7 shirt. Not an easy act following Ronaldo, Cantona, Beckham and George Best, but Memphis Depay was another striker who was apparently allergic to scoring for United. He scored just 7 in 53 appearances, a huge letdown since he'd helped PSV win the Dutch league just a season before joining. Last one, Angel Di Maria was set to be United's landmark signing when he joined in 2014, but 1 season later he was already on his way out. 4 goals in 32 games was just not good enough, given he'd broken the British record transfer fee when he signed. And those are just a few examples. To be honest, the list could go on and on. Unfortunately, that's probably why Man United haven't won the Prem for a while, and why it might take a few more years before they're in contention again.
Yes, you're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. This hour, well, it's the final international window of the year. Does Thomas Tuchel give some of his fringe players a chance to prove their worth in a competitive fixture, or is it all about fine-tuning his starting 11? We'll ask, should Jude Bellingham and Phil Foden come straight into start? And what about Adam Wharton? Is this his moment? Also, as Rob Edwards nears a move to Wolverhampton Wanderers, has he made the right choice to leave Middlesbrough? Or should he have shown a loyalty that's rarely seen in the game? We'll discuss the Championship managerial merry-go-round with Swansea, Norwich and Southampton all searching for new managers. 03717 223344 if you want to join the conversation. Hugh Woozencroft with you alongside the former Liverpool winger Jermaine Pennant. We'll get his views on Arne Slot in the next hour. Reminder, over on talkSPORT 2 this evening, live Virtue Trophy football at level at the break, 1-1 between Stockport and Wigan, and Chelsea just underway in the Women's Champions League, goalless away at St Polton. We'll take your calls on Manchester United. Where are they currently and what are you feeling a year into Ruben Amorim's reign? Let's take your calls. Chris, a United fan, of course, has given us a call. Good evening.
Hello, guys. How are we?
Very well indeed. How are you feeling 1 year into your relationship with Ruben Amorim?
Yeah, I'm quite positive, to be fair. I think obviously the results on the pitch have been difficult from a year's perspective. But if you look at where the club was a year ago, not just from like Ten Hag and stuff, but the club was in an absolute shambles. We were getting rid of dinners and, like the guy said earlier, the players, a lot of them weren't fighting for the badge, but the leadership didn't have a clear, strategy. And I think over this past year, where they've made sort of certain additions to the board, and they, out of Dan Ashworth after that, we've developed a clear strategy, and you can see that from the transfer perspective. But also, you've seen the fruits of getting rid of the redundancies and all that sort of stuff, which is obviously a difficult decision to make. But you've seen a business make business decisions and make it streamlined. And I'm thinking now you're starting to see that on the pitch. And I like the guys earlier who said Amorim, like who Jim Ratcliffe come out and backed Amorim. You've seen the result after that. Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's a massive addition to Amorim to hear that from public perspective, but it's definitely helped from a media and maybe some players' perspective. And I think you have to give them time. And we're so quick as football fans. Like this week, I've heard people want Eddie Howe out of Newcastle. I've heard people want Slot out of Liverpool, and I've also heard people, and I'm talking about their own fans. I've heard people want Man City Pep out last year when they had a difficult time. Like these football fans are so quick to jump on negative parts. Even our own football fans.
That wouldn't be the case at Manchester United, though.
It's the same. It's exactly the same.
No, it's not.
I've had loads of people.
It's not the same.
From United want them out, want him out.
Yeah, because he was terrible. You named some other managers that have been good, and it's ridiculous for their fans to want them out. But Ruben Amorim had Manchester United in relegation form until recently. The last 5 games are really the best stint he's had as a Manchester United manager. He hadn't won back-to-back games before then. So if you wanted him out, it was fair.
There's an argument for it.
There was a strong argument for it, not like the other managers you mentioned.
Yeah, you're not wrong at all, and I mean that in terms of at the point that these fans and people wanted these managers out of other clubs, their clubs were in good states. You know, City, Liverpool, and Newcastle, they are well-run clubs, and at the point United haven't been. And I think now we give them a year. Now we give them a year. I know they're talking about 3 years, but I think from a fan's perspective, we need to continue to see. Look, as a fan, I've said all I want to see at the end of the season. I don't care about league tables or where we are. I want to see a style of play with an identity to know exactly what players are good enough to play for Man United. And I think over the past 10 years, we've not seen that because we've seen players down tools, we've seen a change in system, we've seen a change in like all these players coming in and out. I think now let's get a style of play, let's identify that, and then we can clearly see who's not good enough. And I think we're starting to see that with our United squad.
Well, I think there's been a style of play. He's got a way of playing football. He's got his formation. He hasn't got the players to play that formation.
Chris, appreciate your call, getting us started this evening, and make sure you do give us a call back. Really good, I think really good view that I agreed with, aside from the league table doesn't matter, because I think if they finish in the bottom half, he'll have to go.
Oh.
He would have to go, wouldn't he?
If he's not in the top half of the table, then there's going to be massive questions asked.
Let's speak to Ashley next. United fan, good evening.
Hi, lads. Thanks for having me on.
No,
Cheers,
thank
mate.
you. How are you feeling about Ruben Amorim? 1 year in, is it going the way that you anticipated?
Look at the last 5 games. I think we've discussed a few times this evening here. Shortly before then, we would have said no, that you can see fans starting to turn against Amorim. However, sticking with his ethos, which felt a little bit scary for a period of time there, every manager could come out knowing exactly what he's going to do, how he's going to play, and change formation during games, which led to continued losses week in, week out. When he did come in, everyone's excited to have him on board. His style of football, his history with Sporting, good signs with his ethos. However, the consistency, spells were there, but not winning games, probably the worst we've actually had in some time under a manager, all the way through to the board. Fans did stick with him. However, I could see that they started to turn. I think we did make some good signings. Seemingly, I do feel like we are turning a corner after this good spell of games just now. A lot to do still with regards to signing and strengthening positions, but what's important that I'm seeing or feeling is that the attitude inside the dressing room's changing. We were leading against Forest. We conceded 2, rubbish goals shortly after starting the second half, and then going in and drawing that game. Same with Spurs, I think we actually were the most dominant team in both of those games, but despite lapsing concentration and conceding, it was about the resilience that we showed. Looking back historically, we go 2-1 down after leading the game. We've lost the game. We lose it 3-1, 4-1 at that stage. But look, we stuck with it. More importantly, we're grinding out the points, it seems now. Even when we do go down, that resilience and strength to crack on is just, it's important to me.
Okay, all right. Really good call. Thank you, Ashley. Let's squeeze one more in. Freddie, a Manchester United fan as well. Are you Amorim in?
Good evening, boys. Thanks for having me on. Yes, I'm Amorim in. I've been a season ticket holder for 10 years. I was at the game on Saturday, and I've watched Van Gaal, Mourinho, Ten Hag, and one thing Amorim does have on his side is age. He's just turned 40. I've watched these managers come in and it's negative. Whereas, the signings of Cunha and Buemo, it's just given us a bit of, direction. And I think, you've just got to have faith. It's all good in today's modern game, asking for a manager after a couple of defeats, but I think the players are behind him, and that's shown, even though they've just been draws against Forest and Tottenham. And then also the bottle on him to get rid of Garnacho and Rashford. They were obviously bringing in that toxic culture. I compared it with Arteta getting rid of Aubameyang, and I think they are the changes and the impact that I see anyway as positive signs that he's the man for the job.
Well, we're talking about 5 games there. It's not like we're talking about 15, 20 games.
How many? So that's how many games they need to have turned a corner in your eyes. 20 games.
What?
Solid performances.
Look, they could play Everton after the international and lose, and then go on another losing streak. I think what we've saw so far is an improvement. I wouldn't say that because of 5 games in that all of a sudden they've turned the corner. There's still massive issues there within the club, and they've just literally got out Rashford, Anthony, who were awful for them, and brought in 2 better players. But there are still questions in the midfield. There's still questions at the back line. They went to Forest, who were struggling, who were in the relegation zone at one stage, and had to score late. They almost came off at Tottenham, almost lost that game, had to score late. So there is still...
Let me ask Freddie this, because actually I'll say this as a Manchester United fan. The peace that has come from 2 draws, and I mean it this way, when Manchester United won a few games, it was all Manchester United, the headlines were they're back and they've turned a corner and what can they do?
Yeah.
And obviously when Manchester United were losing, there were huge negative headlines about the manager needing to go. The last 2 weekends, I mean, you obviously want to win football matches as a fan, but the reaction to it on the Monday not being the major story and having time to breathe as a football club has probably been the biggest thing. I don't know how you feel.
Absolutely. Look, as they say, hated, adored, but never ignored, and that's something United will always be in the headlines. But I agree with you. Look, I think second half we sat back. We should have continued, where we left off in the first half. But I think there was obviously some big games over the weekend as well, Liverpool, Man City. But yeah, it's nice not for us to be getting taken the mickey out of all the time. But I just go back to we've chopped and changed so much over 10 years that you've just got to, and as Ratcliffe said at the start that I heard of the show, they're giving him 3 years. So as fans, we've got to stand by him and back him. And
Freddie, let me ask you then: if he stays in charge, this is 1 year in, so another 2 years. What do you believe Ruben Amorim will achieve at United?
In 2 seasons' time, I think a consistent top 4 side. I'm not going to jump the gun and say he'll be challenging for titles, but if you look at Arteta and the development he's had, Jermaine, you said about players coming in, which is what Arteta's had. You look at the addition of Rice, Gabriel. So I see similar journeys really on managers that are very early on in their career. So yeah, 2 years' time, consistent top 4 and winning some trophies along the way.
Freddie, appreciate your call. Really interesting point there at the end. I don't know where other Manchester United fans feel. I agree with him. I think Ruben Amorim could get Manchester United to be a consistent Champions League side, but I don't believe he will ever be the title-winning Manchester United manager. Even with good recruitment, I don't feel the style of football, the system that he plays, the way he approaches games is going to win this league. This league, yeah. He's a good coach, and I think he can prove himself to be an even better coach in England. But I don't feel like, even with spending, even with decent recruitment, that his approach to games is going to win Manchester United a title.
No, I concur with you. I think I agree with that. I say, look, he may get them close. He may start challenging for top 4 positions, and it's Manchester United at the end of the day. They're a huge, massive club. They can draw in the top talent. So if they're willing to go out there and spend on the best players, they can attract the best players. They will get the best players. Manchester United. So over a couple of transfer windows, over 2 seasons, 4 windows, you can do a lot of work in those 4 windows. So they can be back challenging. But then, you look at Amorim, he's the manager to get over that line, because people are questioning Arteta. Second 3 times, is he that man that can get over the line?
We shall see. One thing that, Man United fans pour a lot of money into that football club. Reports today that Manchester United don't want to sign anyone in January would be a little bit concerning. If the opportunity's there for Manchester United to get themselves back into the Champions League, if they're still hovering around the top 5 when we get to January, they need a midfielder at least. They need someone to bolster their midfield. That would be a huge error not to do that.
If there's someone available, there's no point going out there and buying stopgaps because that don't work. You can come the end season and next season it's not worked and you just spent 40, 50 million and wasted. If the right player is available, then they should do it.
Ivan Toney on loan, possibly from Saudi Arabia, 6 months. Would you?
Well, that's not the issue with Manchester United.
I know, but
you've got Sesko, you've got Cunha, you've got. Look, he's a good player. Go on loan. Why not? But that's not the answer.
Sesko hasn't exactly hit the ground running.
Yeah, but look, if there's better options in better areas, then I think they should prioritise that than thinking about Ivan Toney.
Okay, all right. Let me just finish the conversation on Manchester United by reading out a few more of your text. Shake says Manchester United need to get Adam Wharton or Elliot Anderson either this winter or summer. The short-term solution should be playing Lisandro Martinez in midfield alongside Casemiro to push Bruno Fernandes forward and maybe play Cunha up front. David Marshall says a lot of Manchester United fans are entitled. They finished 15th last year. If they finish higher than 15th, it's an improvement. Even if they finish 5th, they won't accept it because they think they should be in the Champions League. Ryan says a couple of good results and Man United fans think they're winning the lot. You'll finish mid-table, then replace your dross players with more dross players as usual. Chill out. So I think that's the balance given there on the first hour of Manchester United. Thank you so much for those of you that got involved. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18+. Make sure you check out gambleaware.org. Next up, we're going to hear exclusively from the England and Arsenal winger Bukayo Saka. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. We're going to talk England next. By the way, Hugh Woozencroft and the former Liverpool winger Jermaine Pennant are with you. We're going to hear from Bukayo Saka. We'll talk Lewis Skelly as well. Miles Lewis Skelly left out from England. What does Thomas Tuchel want him to do if he's to get his place back in the England team? But let's take a look at all of that with our friends at Ladbrokes.
The big preview on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Let's begin with an exclusive interview from the England camp. A little bit early today, our Three Lions correspondent, Faye Carruthers, spoke exclusively to the Arsenal and England winger, Bukayo Saka.
Bukayo, lovely to see you, as always. How have you been? It's been quite a good season for you so far.
Yeah, I've been well, thank you. And yeah, it's been so far so good.
Tell me about what it's like at Arsenal at the minute. It feels like you're riding on a bit of a crest of a wave.
Yeah, the last month or so has gone really well. We've won a lot of games, kept a lot of clean sheets, and we're playing well. So yeah, it's all good.
Won a lot of plaudits as well. I think everybody has already decided you are title favourites. What does that tag feel like?
That's for other people to say. We just have to win every game. Well, that's the mentality we go into the games with, and see where it leaves us. We can't get carried away with what people are saying, because one day they'll say something, the next day they'll say something different. So
that's so true. I remember at the start of the season, I think Liverpool were favourites very, very early on.
Exactly, it changes like the weather, so can't pay attention to that.
No, it does. Did you watch, after obviously your game against Sunderland, were you a little bit surprised by some of the backlash or the panic from some Arsenal fans of dropping points?
I don't see anything, so I don't know what backlash, or I don't know what's...
Backlash is probably extreme, but there was some starting to panic already. One game dropped 2 points against Sunderland, and some fans start to panic a bit.
It's exactly what I said. It's people's opinions and thoughts about us change like the weather. The most important thing is the change room, how solid we are, the foundation we have, the belief we have in ourselves, and how we stick together through the good and bad. That's the most important. We can't pay attention to the external noise because it's always fluctuating. So, yeah, we're good. We're in a good place, and now it's time to focus on international duty.
Yeah, I know, and I promise I will get to that in a minute. Did you watch the Man City game on the Sunday?
No, I didn't watch it. No.
Did you all talk about it though? When you got like a WhatsApp group where you talk about it?
No comment.
That means yes. Well, focusing on England, there's so many Arsenal players in this England squad now. I know Miles isn't in it this time round, but you've got yourself, Declan, Nonny's obviously out injured at the moment, Ebbs as well. What does that say about the strength of Arsenal and the strength of England as well?
Yeah, it says a lot. We have a lot of players coming to the national team, and not just for England. We have a lot of other national team players, so it speaks about the strength in our team. And of course here as well, everyone that's here is of very high quality, and you see it on the pitch, you see it in training. Well, we feel it. You guys might not see everything, but when we go to training, it's going to be high quality, good intensity, high level. So it's nice, and yeah, both teams are in a good place, I'd say.
Yeah, we don't see everything, so give us an insight into what both kind of... I mean, I know you're not going to tell me exactly what goes on, but what's the vibe like in both camps, if you like?
I'd say it's too dissimilar. It's intense, demanding, high quality, and passion, if I had to describe it.
Yeah. I want to focus on Declan Rice particularly, because along with you, he's become one of the mainstays of this England squad. And Thomas Tuchel, on a number of occasions, has mentioned him and his leadership qualities. What is it that makes him such a special player?
Yeah, I think Dex is he's not only a great player, but he's a great leader. Obviously, he was captain at West Ham, and even around Arsenal, he's a big leader. He's a guy that, takes a lot of responsibility in the change room and gets the boys going. So credit to him for that. And of course, he's doing that here now as well. So yeah, it's just a credit to him. He's in really good form, really good moment, and happy to be his teammate.
Yeah. You can tell that. And whenever I ask you about Declan, your face lights up. And with those leadership qualities, what is it specifically? Because it's easy to throw out, oh, he's a great leader. But what is it specifically that he does?
I think it's body language. Obviously, he speaks, communicates, he knows what to say at the right moment. But I think to have that backed up with, his presence on the pitch, how he plays every game, he's always available. So yeah, I think it's just like all of that speaks for itself,
With England, I love that chat that we had after you scored that goal at Wembley against Wales. You were buzzing to get that and broke records. And I know you're not bothered about the records as such, but in the press conference afterwards, I don't know if you were aware, Thomas Tuchel was asked, because you'd broken that record, he was asked if he knew how many goals you'd scored for England. And when he was told 13, he immediately said, "There should be more." He's got the talent. Let me read you out what exactly he said. He said, "You've got the talent, the attitude and the stamina to score more." How much of a target is that for you? And is it something you've maybe spoken to him about?
No, not necessarily, but I 100% agree with him. So, yeah, let's go for more.
Yeah. How do you do that in this team? Because obviously, things are subtly changing under Thomas Tuchel. Where are these opportunities going to come from?
Yeah, I think just being on the pitch is enough. In an England shirt, you have players of immense quality that can create chances, that can score chances. So just being on the pitch for me, I think is enough. And then it's up to me. The managers, the coaching staff, they create the perfect game plan. For us to be ourselves, show our best qualities, and express ourselves. So yeah, it's up to me, kind of.
Without a doubt. And I don't know whether you saw the comments that he made about this camp in particular, and Jude Bellingham and Phil Foden coming back into it, and where he wants them to be playing. So he sees Jude as a 10, but he actually sees Phil as like a 9.5, 10.5, and he wants them roaming around the box like that. So obviously you're going to be supplying these kind of players. And I know you've not had your first training session yet today, but how is that combination going to work, and how excited are you about it?
Oh, I don't know how it's going to work, because obviously we haven't trained yet, but he's a top manager, Thomas Tuchel. He knows what he's doing. So, of course, very exciting. These guys are two top players, and we're more than happy to have them back in the squad, because, like I said, they're top players, and the talent they've got, it's going to bring a lot of quality to the team. So it's very exciting. We're in a good place as a team, and looking forward to what's coming this camp.
Yeah, and my final question is on the World Cup, because qualification is sealed. It could be a big year for you, potential Premier League title, potential World Cup title, if everything goes to plan. How excited are you about how 2026 could go, and what do you want to happen?
Well, I'm sure you know what I want to happen, but it's all still far away. The only thing I can do is focus on today, and that's it, and how I can be the best possible today, and help my team, help myself, and what will come will come. I can't get lost in the thoughts of what's coming at the end of the year.
So no visualisation like Harry Kane for you?
Nah, not for me, no.
Lies.
Do you know what it is? It's interesting to hear a player of his level and magnitude quite so relaxed about it. Bukayo Saka there, by the way, speaking to Faye Carruthers, our England correspondent. The Arsenal and England winner might be going for a World Cup title, might have a Premier League winner's medal around his neck, because ultimately he has to understand the responsibility. If those two things are going to happen, he needs to be a key part of it. That's how talented he is. Arsenal star boy. I mean, I don't know if he can still have that nickname given the young players they've got coming through at Arsenal, but he's had an injury. He's trying to come back to fully 100%, and I don't think he's quite there yet. Obviously, he's doing his thing, but once he does get fully up to speed after that injury, we know just how good a player he is. He needs to score goals. He needs to have assists. Obviously, he can do that, but it needs to be regular. I would have loved to hear him say, I want to be the best player in the Premier League. I want to be the best player at the World Cup, and that's what I'm aiming for. I get it. He said, I want to be at my best. But it would have been interesting to hear him say, I visualise those specific things. Like we've heard goal scorers in the past say, I want to go and win the Golden Boot. That's what I'm working towards. Like, did you have big targets when you played, goals, assists, things like that?
Well, look, you got to look at the individual. I think with Saka, he's a very humble guy, and I don't think you will hear him ever say, "I want to be the best." This, and he always go, "I want to give out the best performance that I can for myself and for my country and for my club, and see what happens." But look, we all have, targets, whether it's 10 goals, whether it's double figures in goals, whether it's double figures in assists. We all have our own individual targets, and they would have been set for him at the start of the season. And we know how good of a player he is. He's a fantastic, important player, not only for country, but for Arsenal as well. And for both sets of teams to be successful, we're going to need Saka for 100% fit.
13 goals for England. Now, outside of Harry Kane, how important is it that the talented forward players that England have are chipping in regularly with goals?
Massively. We've seen when you've got players who are your top, gunsmen who are scoring goals left, right, and centre. They need help. Harry Kane need help. Sometimes there'll be games where things ain't going too well, and this is where you rely on your other attacking players like your Sakas, whoever's on the left, whether it's Rashford, whether it's Gordon, whether it's Eze, whoever's going to play out there, you need them to chip in some way, shape or form, whether it's an assist or a goal themselves. And it's to rely on Harry Kane all the time. I don't think they do. I don't think the team's that good. I don't think they will rely on Harry Kane. He gets a lot of service for him to score our goals for England. So I think it is shared out, but at the moment, the form that Harry Kane's in, he just can't miss a target and he can't stop scoring.
Be interesting to see what happens when Noni Madueke's back for both Arsenal and England, whether that pushes Saka's game on, because he's needed that real competition. And yeah, Arsenal fans will tell me, well, we can play Madueke on the other side. I get it. You can play Eze there if you want. Eze can play as a 10. There's a lot of players in the Arsenal forward areas that can play in various positions. But Madueke was playing so well before his injury, especially for England, that you thought, oh, how's Saka going to get back in? Now, funnily enough, when Saka's back from injury, Madueke's injured. So it's there for him to absolutely nail it down. But is he one of the positions, Saka, that you feel is guaranteed starter for England? Or do you feel like there is someone that could take his place?
Well, if everyone's fit, then you're putting your strongest England 11 out. And I think it's obviously Harry Kane and Saka, attacking options. For me, it'll be Jude Bellingham in the number 10 as well. But Saka, yeah, I think that's his position. That's his position to lose. If he stays injury-free, then he'll be on the team sheet as a starter. Madueke, if he comes in and does well, then there's questions to be asked. And then it's all up to Saka to keep performing well, to give the manager a headache. But for me, and I think everyone around who knows football will probably say that Saka is the number one starter.
We're going to discuss, you said Jude Bellingham was number 10. So after the break, we're going to discuss the number 10 position. I wonder if Cole Palmer can get his position back. So that's coming back very shortly. A reminder, England play Serbia at Wembley Thursday, the 13th of November. So this Thursday, 7:45 kickoff. Adrian Durham, Jim Proudfoot and former England captain Stuart Pearce with you for that one. That was all thanks to Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org.
The big preview on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18+, gambleaware.org.
So Jude Bellingham recalled, Phil Foden recalled. We'll discuss England's number 10 next. We'll also focus on the pressure that Thomas Tuchel's reportedly putting on Miles Lewis-Skelly to play regularly. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT. Hugh, Woozencroft and the former Liverpool wide man Jermaine, Pennant are with you. We're talking England. We're going to talk the number 10 position very, very shortly, but we're going to begin by discussing Thomas Tuchel. And in fact, let me just give you the latest score from the Women's Champions League. Vika Captain has put Chelsea in front away against St Polten. Remember, live at Stockport taking on Wigan over on talkSPORT 2 in the Virtue Trophy as well. So you can hit the live games on your talkSPORT app. You can move seamlessly between the two stations if you'd like to listen to both. As I said, let's talk England. Thomas Tuchel, is he wrong to put pressure on Miles Lewis-Skelly's domestic game time? He's made it clear that Lewis-Skelly must start playing more football if he wants to keep his international dream alive. He's been left out of the current England squad. He's only 19 years old. He's played in 12 matches so far this season, but he's only played 463 minutes. 86 of those minutes have come in the Premier League. Now, a number of Premier League clubs are monitoring the situation with Lewis-Skelly potentially behind both of Ricardo Calafiori and Piero Hincapié in the left-back pecking order. I don't know what to think of this one. Is it right that Thomas Tuchel puts pressure on a young player to maybe move club and play more regularly? Is that fair?
I think that's good management. I think as your England manager going to you saying, listen, you need to be playing. I want you to be playing for me to pick you. I think that's good management. A lot of managers wouldn't say anything. And then, you know, the player would be going about his business. And then when the squad selection comes along, wonder why they're not getting picked. So he's been up front and telling where he stands and said, look, I need you to be playing. If you want to play for England, which everyone has to be a starter at their parent club, if that's not happening, then maybe try and manufacture a loan move somewhere and get regular football in, because you can't take someone and make him be your number one left back if they're not playing week in, week out at their club, because it will affect them, especially when you're going into the big competitions, especially if they haven't got that game time week in, week out that other players are getting. It's hard to. We've seen it with players who miss a pre-season, how difficult it is.
Strangely, we would have done anything to take Luke Shaw to the last tournament. Remember, he hadn't played for months and he still got in. Was injured for half of the tournament and played, I think, the semi-final and final. So that left-back area has been a problem for England. And they've got they've got options. There's no standout. There's no Ashley Cole, is there? So I think that's one of the issues. They don't really know who's going to be perfect for that position. Jed Spence, Livramento's played there as well. Lewis Hall coming back from injury. There's going to be options in that left-back area, but no one who's truly stood out as England's number one. They need to find a solution for it.
Well, Nico Riley looks like a good option.
Yeah.
He looks like he's really going to be a good player for that position. You know, man kind of dealt with.
It's hard. It's hard with Manchester City youngsters, because I found that Manchester City play a style of football which, in many respects, at times they've carried players is probably the wrong word. This is nothing against Nico O'Reilly, but they manage to play the game in a certain way that means that if there's a player who isn't as strong, they can mask it just a little bit.
I understand what you're saying there, but
do you know what I mean?
I understand.
Mateus Nunes playing at right back, for example.
I understand what you're saying.
He's not a right back, but they managed to mask that.
But you've still got to defend. You've still got to go one-on-one with Mohamed Salah. You still got to go one-on-one with Saka. You still got to come up against these players. Yes, your team, other teams will be better and you can mass and things, but they've still got to do their individual job. They've still got to try and defend when it's one-on-one. And on the ball, you still got to be good. You can have greatness around you, but you still got to do the right things, the right runs, and that's what he's doing. And you see a lot of players come up against him, and it doesn't seem out of place. It doesn't seem like he's struggling. You don't see him really get beat one-on-one. So if you can do that against the players that I've mentioned, and then on the international front, you're going to find that a lot easier.
Should get an opportunity, Nico O'Reilly of Manchester City. One person who won't be getting an opportunity is Miles Lewis-Skelly of Arsenal. He's been left out of the England squad. The England boss, Thomas Tuchel, explained his decision.
Yeah, Miles was a very good teammate and played for us in last camp in the qualifier in Riga. So was Ruben Loftus-Cheek, so was Morgan Gibbs-White, so was James Trafford. But I said last time, there's also a component to it that it is about competition, it's about performance, and the door is always open for guys who perform on a regular level and on a high level. So yeah, Miles and Ruben Morgan Gibbs-White got outperformed from Nico, from Alex Scott, from Nick Pope, and from Jude, and in their positions.
Very interesting. That's a close eye on form. A big message about people who are playing and playing well being included in the England squad. He mentioned Jude there. Jude Bellingham is back in the England squad, as is Phil Foden. And you said just before the break, Jermaine, that you would play Jude Bellingham as your number 10. This is a political camp when it comes to the relationship between Thomas Tuchel and Jude Bellingham and how the media and fans perceive it. It's going to be very instructive indeed, because I feel like there were some that wanted to amplify there being an issue between Jude Bellingham and Thomas Tuchel during the last England camp, when obviously he was left out. The manager said he hadn't quite fully recovered, only started one game after his shoulder surgery, so he wanted to give him a little bit more time. And there were many who felt, well, if he's fit and he's playing for Real Madrid and he's available, he should be in that England squad. He's obviously been called back this time around. If he's on the bench for these two games, bear in mind England have already qualified for the World Cup. If he's on the bench, if he's not given that kind of starting berth in both games and shown by the manager that he's going to be his guy, then I think those stories will once again be front and centre. And that is not healthy for the England team. He has to show that he wants Jude Bellingham to be his guy.
Well, it depends on what kind of setup and what team he wants to go with. If he wants to experiment, we might not see Jude. We might not see some of our stars play if he wants to go and experiment. But if he wants to put a strong team out to get this bond, continue this momentum, scoring goals, being effective, being pretty, being on the front foot, and he puts out a strong team, and we don't see Jude, then there will be question marks.
He hasn't got to work. No, he hasn't been the England manager for that long. He hasn't got the chance to work with Jude Bellingham so far this season. Jude Bellingham should start both of these games, and the message should be he is going to be one of our key players at the World Cup. It doesn't matter whether he experiments or not. Even if he experiments, Jude Bellingham should start both of those games. Even if he's surrounded by Adam Whartons and Alex Scotts and players who've been on the fringe, Jude Bellingham should be starting both of those games, because otherwise the message is going to be, and the media are going to amplify it, including us, that Thomas Tuchel doesn't really fancy Jude Bellingham as one of his starters. Now, this is a guy that Thomas Tuchel told us kind of intimidated his teammates. That's the word that he used in terms of the way that he conducted himself. You know, his teammates can find it a little bit intimidating and the high standards. And that's exactly what I want from an England player. I want them to put pressure on one another to excel, to succeed, to win matches. But if that's what the England manager isn't too keen on, or maybe feels that he should shy away from, that's already a black mark, a negative going towards Jude Bellingham. This should be all about Jude Bellingham being uplifted in this England camp specifically. It doesn't mean he's going to start next summer, but any negative stories and headlines around Jude Bellingham are so unnecessary at this point.
Jude Bellingham starting. I don't care what formation, what team puts out. If he's on the bench, Jude Bellingham.
So what about Cole Palmer when he comes back from injury? He's not starting. What about Phil Foden? He's been recalled. He's not starting.
Well, he's not going to start in that position. You know, look, Phil Foden is a fantastic player. He's a brilliant player when he plays for Manchester City, and he's a good player when he plays for England. But in that position, he doesn't offer you anything. 44 appearances, 4 goals. 45 appearances, 4 goals. If you want a number 10, you want a number 10 with goals, with assists, doing something. That's what a number 10 does. Phil doesn't really offer that with England. We saw it with Gareth. Doesn't really offer you anything. He's just good on the ball. He looks pretty, but it doesn't give you any end product. We look at Jude Bellingham. The last championship, he was one of our best players, one of our most influential players.
Yeah.
In big games, in tournaments, that's the kind of characters you need. You need people to stand up. Phil Foden is not that guy you're going to rely on to score a last-minute winner and get you out of the dirt like Jude will. In big tournaments, we are fantastic. Any of these players, Cole Palmer, Jude, Phil, in the knockout stages, in the group games, unbelievable. Doesn't matter. But when it gets to the crunch time, when it gets to the important time, you want players like Jude Bellingham on your pitch being a starter.
Okay, we'll see exactly what happens with Jude Bellingham in that first game during this England camp Thursday night, live here on talkSPORT. It's a 7:45 start. Will Jude Bellingham be a starter against Serbia? We'll find out. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org. Up next, we're going to look at the managerial merry-go-round in the Championship with our EFL expert, Adrian Clark. Is Rob Edwards still joining Wolves or not? No response. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. Myself, Hugh, Woozencroft and Jermaine Pennant. We've just devised England winning the World Cup with a 4-4-2 formation. Maybe we'll save that for another show. Up next, we're going to talk about the Championship, a managerial merry-go-round. I mean, it's unbelievable. I'd call it a merry-go-round. They haven't yet, any of these clubs, decided to appoint a new manager. Swansea today sacking Alan Sheehan, but Middlesbrough set to be without a manager if Rob Edwards departs to Wolves as expected. Norwich have already sacked Liam Manning. Southampton have dismissed Will Still. So over this international break, I imagine that those clubs will be getting in replacements. But yeah, at the moment, it's all up in the air. Rob Edwards to leave Middlesbrough. Let's start there and speak to our EFL pundit here at talkSPORT, Adrian Clark, the former Arsenal midfielder. Good evening, Adrian.
Good evening, Hugh. Evening, Jermaine. You all right?
Yeah, we're okay. This one's got me a little bit. We know we spoke about it on EFL All Access yesterday on talkSPORT too. And I was kind of speechless around why a manager who's in a good situation, like Rob Edwards has been at Middlesbrough, well supported by the hierarchy, would go to what for me is currently a bad situation. Wolves, bottom of the Premier League, the ownership up in the air, whether they're going to be investing over the long term. I get it. He played 111 times for Wolves between 2004 and 2008. He was coaching with the under-18 side after his retirement. He went to first-team coach under Kenny Jackett in 2015 and became interim manager in 2016. So he has a relationship with the club, of course. He's managed the under-23s as well up until 2019. So he has a long experience with the club. So we get that there's an affiliation there. But the decision-making here feels like it doesn't make sense to a lot of people. It's angered a lot of people who are outside of either of these two clubs as well. Can you understand why?
Yeah, I understand it. I can't get worked up about it because I just feel that his family live much closer to Wolves. That is a big factor for any person in their line of work. And people will say, well, you knew how far Middlesbrough was away when you took that job. And that's absolutely correct. But then if you get offered a job closer to home, at a higher level, probably with better wages, a lot of people would consider that, wouldn't they? I can't get outraged about it. I know that a lot of people are, but managers get sacked if they lose 4 or 5 on the spin. So I don't see why we should be up in arms when a manager actually voluntarily leaves a post. I just don't. I don't really get it. But I understand that Middlesbrough fans will feel let down. Of course I do. But they'll be fine. There are plenty of good candidates. We'll probably talk about them shortly that can take over the reins there. They're in good shape.
Hey, John, I'm in the same boat as you. I don't understand the noise and the fuss. I get it if you're a Middlesbrough fan that the team's doing so well and being frustrated that you're going to leave us in this situation. But we're talking about a Premier League team coming.
Yeah.
A Premier League team who's been well established in the Premier League. Yes, they're going through a tricky patch now, but there's nothing to say that they're going to get relegated. They may stay up. And if you look at the two teams, Wolves are a better team than Middlesbrough.
Let's hear what Simon Jordan had to say, because he's been very interesting over the last few days. Some strong opinions, as always. He did say last week that Rob Edwards should just get on with it, right? He's been given a great opportunity with Middlesbrough. Of course, that the chairman at Middlesbrough, very supportive and gave him an opportunity after things went very difficultly at Luton Town. Here's what he had to say a little bit earlier.
I hope Wolves get relegated and he goes down with them and suffers a consequence of it, because people will say, he'll point to, I'm no doubt, well, look what happened to me at Watford. I was there for 4 months, they were 10th in the league, I got bombed. But you know that going into Watford. Watford is a freak show of management. It does itself. It's not the model that most people would look at and think was a wonderful way to run a football club, having 107 managers in 10 years.
So he hopes Wolves go down. So getting a little bit exercise, Mr. Jordan. Adrian, what about all of these replacements at all of these clubs? We might as well get your reaction to Alan Sheehan leaving Swansea. But then what next for Norwich? What next for Southampton?
Well, look, it's going to be a lively international break, isn't it? I mean, let's go through them one by one. Borough, first of all, Gary O'Neill, for me, probably the standout candidate there. Played for the club. He's linked with all of these 4 vacancies. He's in the top 3 favourites for all of them. So Gary O'Neill, I think, if he doesn't get a job in the next fortnight, something's gone amiss. Corbrand's linked. I don't see that happening. Stephen Gerrard's an interesting one at Borough. That you could maybe see that happening. For Swansea, yeah, Alan Sheehan was the caretaker, wasn't he, that got the gig and did very well at the end of last season. But this year, they've struggled to score goals. They've struggled to create chances. They haven't been very exciting to watch, and the results have gradually got worse. So I'm not surprised that he's gone. The favourite is Brendan Rodgers, which is really interesting, obviously, because he sort of made a name for himself there, didn't he, many years ago. And then second in the market is a Swedish guy, 37, Kim Hellberg. I think he's in charge of Hammarby in Sweden. He interviewed for the job when Sheehan got it and came very close by all accounts. So, look, I'm hearing on the grapevine that Snoop Dogg is a bit of a Brendan Rodgers
Good
fan.
manager. Good manager.
And look, but Modric is a hipster, and he likes the boy Hellberg. So look, who knows? Who knows what they're going to do?
The only thing I'd say about Swansea sacking Alan Sheehan is he's 7 points above the drop zone, and I just wondered what the hierarchy at the club were expecting this season. He's a young manager making his way in the game. There's a little bit of a gap there to the relegation zone. Whether they thought they were going to be in the playoffs, I'm not sure, but he's 6 points. He's 6 points off 7th. So if you want to look at it that way as well, there's an opportunity that if things had gone well and he had put a little bit of a run together, they may well have turned a corner and had a very good season. It's obviously, 15 games or into the season that Swansea have had. So from my perspective, could he have been given a few more games? Probably yes. But then if they are appointing someone like Brendan Rodgers, maybe now was the time. Anyway,
they want football. They want the ball. Swansea fans sort of expect a certain brand of football, and I think that Sheehan had moved away from it to save them last year in the Championship. Went more pragmatic, went good without the ball. But I think Swansea are a club that want to play a bit of football, and didn't look like that was going to happen under Sheehan. But yeah, look, Norwich. I mean, Gary O'Neill was favourite there. Could see that happening. The second favourite is fascinating because it's the guy that I think probably is the best candidate for the job, but he's got a gig in the Premier League, and that's Daniel Farke. But he's second favourite for the Norwich job. Is he going to last the season at Leeds? You just feel like the timing might be wrong for Daniel Farke, but he would certainly be of interest to them, I'm sure.
Very quickly, Jermaine, your old teammate Steven Gerrard going to Middlesbrough. Could you see him taking a job in the Championship?
Possibly, but I couldn't see him going to Middlesbrough. I just don't see him. The fit there, no. So the answer to your question is no.
Okay, all right. Not my substance. But the answer is no. Adrian Clark, thank you so much for being with us. The latest on the EFL after the sacking of Alan Sheehan at Swansea today. Some managerial changes I'm sure will be taking place very, very soon indeed in the second tier. Up next, we're going to look at the latest edition of the Match Officials Mic'd Up show, which aired tonight, and the process for that disallowed goal for Virgil van Dijk on Sunday.
For every good signing a club makes, there's bound to be a few that don't work out. And Man United have certainly had their fair share of those, especially since the end of their golden age under Sir Alex Ferguson. Here are just some of the Red Devils' worst signings since Fergie. First up, Alexis Sanchez. Sanchez joined United from Arsenal back in 2018 and became the highest paid player in the Prem. He'd averaged almost 1 goal every 2 games for the Gunners, but in his 45 games for Man United, he only managed 5 goals. Not what you want from a star striker. Next up, Radamel Falcao. He earned himself the nickname the Tiger for his sheer efficiency and the way he used to pounce upon the mistakes of defenders. But at Man United, he was way more pussycat than Tiger, to be honest. All he managed in 29 Man United games was 4 goals. Moving on, things couldn't have gone much worse for Jadon Sancho at Man United. Yeah, it would have been hard to outdo his Borussia Dortmund form, but 12 goals in 83 games is not great. Things got worse after a public fallout with manager Erik ten Hag. Sancho said he was being made a scapegoat. Ten Hag said there'd been a discipline issue. It all ended up with Sancho going back to Germany. Next, Erik ten Hag probably thought he was being smart in sticking to what he knew when he signed Antony from his former club Ajax. But the £86 million Brazilian hasn't really been able to hack it in the Prem. Chances are Antony's Man United days are numbered. Next, the curse of the Man United number 7 shirt. Not an easy act following Ronaldo, Cantona, Beckham and George Best, but Memphis Depay was another striker who was apparently allergic to scoring for United. He scored just 7 in 53 appearances, a huge letdown since he'd helped PSV win the Dutch league just a season before joining. Last one, Angel Di Maria was set to be United's landmark signing when he joined in 2014, but 1 season later, he was already on his way out. 4 goals in 32 games was just not good enough, given he'd broken the British record transfer fee when he signed. And those are just a few examples. To be honest, the list could go on and on. Unfortunately, that's probably why Man United haven't won the Prem for a while, and why it might take a few more years before they're in contention again.
This is Kickoff on talkSPORT. This hour we'll get Jermaine Pennant's thoughts on his beloved Liverpool. Is Arne Slot under pressure? And how does he rescue the team from its current crisis? We'll also find out why Virgil van Dijk's goal was disallowed at the weekend. It's a mystery. Anyway, we'll also talk Fulham. Are they ready to move on from manager Marco Silva? We'll also talk leadership in the Premier League. Has it changed? Do you need a coach on the pitch rather than that inspirational figurehead leading you? Your thoughts on it on 03717 223344. This is Kickoff. You can also drop us a text on 81089. I'll try and read those out on any of our topics. Following us at 10 p.m, by the way, is the Sports Bar. Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy coming up with another brilliant Listener 11, this time on times you were made to feel old. That's after Frank Lampard revealed he knew it was time to retire when Luke Shaw didn't know who Tony Adams was. And don't forget, Jason's brilliant 21 Minutes to Go podcast alongside Andy Goldstein. That one's out every week. They literally have exactly 21 minutes to discuss whatever is on their minds. The podcast is available right now from your favourite podcast provider. Right. We're going to get into it. It's left a lot of people scratching their heads this weekend. Liverpool beaten 3-0 away at Manchester City. I think their Premier League hopes are already over and done with, but we'll talk about Arne Slot and what he has to do to revive things very shortly. But we have had an explanation as to why Virgil van Dijk's header was disallowed against Manchester City. On this evening's episode of Match Officials Mic'd Up, the PGMOL's COO Howard Webb spoke to former England striker Michael Owen about the reasoning behind the incident from Sunday. Maybe it was because Andy Robertson was stood in an offside position. But Should he have been deemed to be interfering with the goalkeeper's eye line?
Robertson's in line of vision right in front of the keeper. He's ducked under the ball. He's very, very close to him. I think he's line of vision. I think he's been impacted, mate. Okay, so offside then. I think offside. On-field decision is offside.
Checking the on-field decision of offside against Andy Robertson. Delay. So you got clear offside position.
Well, talk to me, mate.
You got a movement. You got a high ground to show how high he is in terms of line of vision.
Very close to Donnarumma.
I
agree with the on-field decision. I think he's offside.
Virgil,
It's a clear, an obvious action which clearly impacts on the goalkeeper.
Yeah. Okay, so it's Michael confirming the on-field decision of offside against Andy Robertson. He is in an offside position very close to the goalkeeper and makes an obvious movement directly in front of him. Check complete offside.
Big decision, Howard. I am strongly of the opinion that should have stood. What's your view on that?
Yeah, for sure, Michael, a huge decision, obviously, in a big game. We've known from our conversations before that offside, interfering with an opponent where the offside position player doesn't play the ball and the officials have to make a judgment whether the actions of that player impact an opponent are some of the most subjective decisions that we have to make. And therefore, it's no surprise that some people believe that this goal should have stood, as you've just said. So I think it's important that we look at the facts of what actually happened in this situation. We know the corner comes in and the ball reaches Van Dijk. As the ball's coming across the penalty area, the Manchester City players move out. They leave Robertson in that offside position in the heart of the 6-yard box. When Van Dijk heads the ball forward, that's the moment when we have to make an offside judgment about Robertson and about what he's doing there. We know he doesn't touch the ball, but what does he do? Well, for sure, as the ball moves towards him, 3 yards out from goal, right in the middle of the 6-yard box, he makes that clear action to duck below the ball goes just over his head. And the ball finds the goal in the half of the 6-yard box where he is. Then the officials have to make a judgment. Did that clear action impact on Donnarumma, the goalkeeper, and his ability to save the ball? And that's where the subjectivity comes into play.
Pathetic. I don't know what we're doing. That was Howard Webb, by the way, speaking to Michael Owen on the Match Officials Mic'd Up show, which aired earlier on television this evening, trying to explain to us, and I guess in his words, they didn't say it explicitly, but that the goal should have stood. Although he said it's a subjective decision, at least on our clip there, he didn't say whether he agreed with it. Obviously, Michael Owen disagreed. Most football fans did disagree. Ducking out of the way of the ball, can that impact the goalkeeper? And secondly, they said it numerous times that Andy Robertson was in the eye line of Gianluigi Donnarumma, which he wasn't.
Right. So if you take a shot at goal and I'm directly in front of the goalkeeper, I then make an action away from the ball and the goalkeeper sees it late and he doesn't know to dive or stay because I'm there. Then I all of a sudden move. And then by the time I've done, it's too late. It's in the back of the net. I understand that. Donnarumma, as Van Dijk took his header, Donnarumma dived. He saw the line of the ball. He was diving to try and save the shot. Nothing to do with Robinson. As he dived and, the ball was going in, then Robinson, tried to get out of the way of the ball. But his decision was already made. He saw Van Dijk head this ball. I'm going to dive and try and save it. And then Robinson ducks out of the way. He wasn't in line with him. It didn't impact him. Andy Robertson could have been at home watching it on TV. The same outcome, the same dive, and he would have dived at the same time Van Dijk headed the ball. There was no impact. Robinson didn't do anything to change Donnarumma's vision, to change his idea of is going to dive or not. And we've seen these goals going for Man City against Wolves. John Stones scored ahead of last minute. Bernardo Silva was standing in front of Jose Sarr. Jose Sarr had to push him out of the way. Then once Stones headed the ball, then he ducked out of the way. Perfectly fine. We saw against Liverpool, Atletico Madrid, Llorente take a shot. Griezmann in the direct line of Alisson jumps over the ball goes in, fine. So I'm confused how you can have these scenarios, but come up with this decision. It wasn't in his line. That's what they're trying to say. He was in his highlight. He wasn't. It was 3-4 yards to his left.
He also said, and they kept saying it, that there was a clear motion from Robertson. There was, to get as far away from the ball as he possibly could. It's not like he tried to divert the ball into the net that would have at least, made Donnarumma kind of pause and think, where's the ball going? It went the exact place that Donnarumma went to save it. He was diving to the bottom corner because he knew the ball was going in the bottom corner and he couldn't make it. He wasn't impacted by Robertson at all. I think this, in a way, shows VAR at its worst. That they said, Howard Webb just told us, it's very subjective. So there's not going to be a 100% answer to it. And the big message for PGMOL, and I don't know why they won't get it, stay out of it. There seems to be a constant desire to get involved and get involved and get involved. And the overall culture needs to be that VAR on a Saturday, if they don't say anything, you've had a good day. If we don't have to contact Stockley Park, perfect. We don't want to speak to you. We don't want to hear from you. Only get involved if someone has made such a monumental error that it's going to affect the game. And that obviously wasn't one.
But I'm going to say this again, and I've said it before. You, me, our friends, every single person watching has come up with the conclusion that it's a goal, that it wasn't in his eye line. Everybody who watches it can say that. You ask your friends, I ask my friends, people at home watched it, come to the same conclusion. Why is it the professionals, who this is their job, professionals who've done training, who've got a manual book and week in, week out, make decisions? How comes quarter of the country, 3/4 of the country, maybe all the country could come to a decision where that's a goal, it's not in our... But these people in the Stockley Park have come to a different decision.
Because, unlike fans at home, we've got a group of people who are being told to make decisions, to get involved. All of us watching, everyone in the stadium wants them to stay out of it. And when they go and do their training, it's how can you get involved to make the game what they feel is better, which it isn't, because there's just more decisions and more things for us to argue about. For us, a better game is less involvement by the officials.
So if I throw you in Stockley Park and say make a decision, if I throw all the people that we talk to and fans, throw them in Stockley Park, do you think they would have came up with the same decision as Michael Oliver did? Do you think they would come up with the same decision as VAR? No. They would look at that and go, well, he's not in his eye line, or he's not impacted him. He's diving already. Robertson's trying to get out of the way. The law of the law, that's a fine goal. How can everyone else do that, but these guys can't?
Howard Webb actually said the decision was not unreasonable. Liverpool making contact with the PGMO to raise their concerns over that decision. I think it's a little bit too late for that, and I also think Liverpool have bigger issues at the moment. We're going to talk about them after the break. I didn't feel like, listen, they have regular meetings with the officials. In the next meeting, raise it. I don't feel like they needed to write a letter to them and raise their concerns over that one.
Especially if Mike Oliver's officiating.
Let's not go down that road. I'm not trying to get sued. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org. We are going to look at what's gone wrong for Liverpool outside of the officials' decisions straight after this.
Get in the ring to win on talkSPORT.
You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. I'm Hugh Woozencroft alongside former Liverpool winger Jermaine Pennant. Shortly we will discuss what is going wrong for Arne Slot at Liverpool. But first, thanks to talkSPORT, your plans this coming weekend could be sorted because we're giving you the chance to win 2 tickets to the massive rematch between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn live at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium this Saturday, 15th of November. You'll get a night in a 5-star London hotel and £5,000 in spending money to make it an unforgettable weekend. So get ready, here's how to enter.
18 plus, UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word BOX to 83338 and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission, or you can enter for free by calling 0330 880 3338. All entries must be received by the 13th of November at 1 p.m. and you need to answer our call to win. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com.
Now, let's talk Liverpool. I've got to say, Jermaine Pennant, a bit like you, I was absolutely gutted this weekend to see Manchester City beat Liverpool 3-0. It hurt.
It sounds like you was gutted as well.
Yeah, because I was hoping for the draw because I don't want either of you to win the Premier League. That means that Man City might actually win it. So it was devastating for me. I was hoping for a 0-0. But anyway, Liverpool fans maybe hurt a little bit more because it's over. You're not going to win the Premier League title this year.
That's a bit rich, you know? Do you really believe that?
100%. 100%.
They're 8 points, so not 18.
Doesn't matter. You're going to lose more than one more game.
And so all the teams around us.
Only one team in the last decade has lost 6 Premier League games and still won the title. That was during the COVID-impacted season. It was Liverpool. We know what happened after you'd won it as well. You know, difficult times for everyone at that time. But obviously, once you'd sealed the title, you had a few poor results. But ultimately, you can't lose 6 games and win the title. You've already lost 5. So you got to be virtually perfect from here on out. Looking at the way you're playing at the moment, that's not going to happen. So it's over. Sorry to break the news. It is over. You're 8th in the Premier League. You've lost 7 of your last 8 games in all competitions. You got bigger problems, mate, than worrying about the title. The title. You've got to focus on getting in the Champions League next year.
I'm not focusing on the title. I'm just saying 8 points is not, you know...
Are you good enough to win the league?
A massive thing.
You're good enough to win. You're not good enough.
8 points away. You're not good enough. Not going to win the league.
You're not good enough to win the league. But that's the reality.
If you go on performances, no.
No, exactly.
But 8 points is nothing. We've seen how quick we was 10 points clear of Arsenal at one stage. Now they're 8. So 8 points is nothing. We still got to go to Emirates. Arsenal still got to go to Etihad. Teams will take points off all these teams now.
And I tell you who teams are going to take points off: Liverpool. Because you're rubbish at the moment. You're not good enough at the moment. You're certainly not good enough to get anywhere near the Premier League title. So let's just focus on what is going wrong with Liverpool and how to fix it. If you are going to overturn an 8-point deficit on Arsenal, how are you going to do it?
Look, in all fairness, last season when Klopp went and we got an unknown manager in Arne Slot, last season, this was the kind of start I was expecting, is, just to battle our way into the top 4. And then winning the league was an absolute bonus. But now we're kind of seeing that. And I think where Liverpool are hurting right now is the loss of some key players. And it just goes to show how good they were for us. Trent going, we've lost the relationship and the cohesion with him and Salah. So we've seen Salah kind of falter on that. The work rate that we used to get from Luis Diaz, his input, we've hugely missed that. Darwin Núñez, yes, we was all umming about him. Is he good enough? But the chaos and the charging and the pressing that you bring, lifting players was huge. The loss of Diego Jota, which has hurt every single member in that club, in that team, in that city. So there's a lot of things to look at as to say why. And then we've got a lot of new players coming in who are still trying to find their way at a team like Liverpool, at a team in the Premier League, how fast and how physical it is and the difference it is playing in other leagues. And they still haven't gelled yet. And on the back of that, our key players are not performing at the minute. And another one is a huge miss is Alisson. He is just as big as a player Salah. He is the guy that, without Salah and Lassie, if we miss on the longer periods, his one-on-ones, his his passing, his ability on the ball, his kicking, everything about him is fantastic. And we talk about Virgil, but having a keeper like Alisson as well gives your defence so much ability and confidence. Him rushing off his line. We haven't got that right now. So those balls, those counter-attacks, he's out there to stop them. He's like a third defender at times.
You're telling me all the reasons why Liverpool aren't playing well.
Yeah.
But I asked you how they're going to solve it.
Well, it's a matter of time. Like, they've got a lot of players who've got world-class players, a lot of ability in that team. So once people come to fitness, once people get in the groove, it will click. It's just that they're waiting for that moment just to click. It's too good of a team to falter. It's not a crisis. Sheffield Wednesday's a crisis.
Yeah, I understand. There's different levels of crises. 8
points, off. Win a game. We're in the top 4. It's not a crisis. It's just at the moment. It's just times are difficult to get a good run and to keep the clean sheets. Once things start clicking, once players start getting the confidence, once the morale gets lifted, Liverpool, I'm not worried.
One player not confident at the moment is Florian Wirtz. Big money, huge money signing. His boss at Germany, Julian Nagelsmann's been speaking about him. He says, we all need to support him a little bit so that he can clear his head here. And then maybe Liverpool could also help him out by scoring some of the chances he creates. That would be one idea, because he does create a few chances. It's just that somehow they do not shoot the ball in from those chances. That is part of the truth. Let's hear from our European football expert, Kev Hatchard. He was on H&J earlier and gave his thoughts on Wirtz's form.
He is setting people up, and chances they'd normally put away, they're hitting the post or they're putting them wide. There was a brilliant spin at Chelsea where he kind of flicked the ball with a kind of ballet pirouettes into Salah's path, and Salah just hammered the ball into the side netting. So, look, with 2 or 3 of those looking different and becoming assists instead of nothing, then the situation looks a little bit different. Has he been as good as he can be? Nowhere near.
Your thoughts, Jermaine, on Florian Wirtz's start at Liverpool?
Again, it's not the start that we all dreamt of and all thought was going to get from Leverkusen. But, Kevin's right in what he's saying there. And also, we've got to take into consideration, he could be easily having the same amount of goals as Victor Gyökeres if Mo Salah squared the ball on 3 occasions, if a few players pulled it back to him on 4 occasions. He could be easily Liverpool's top goal scorer. It's just at the moment, there's no cohesion there. Once like we've known over late. But again, it's just taking time. Big players sometimes don't just come to a league and just light it up. It takes time to gel with your team, your surroundings. Look at Trent. He's in Spain and he's finding it difficult. This happens to players when they go to another culture, another country, another style of football. It takes time to warm in. Kylian Mbappe in his first probably 6 months or how many months, there was and ahhing about him. He was getting booed, but now look at him. It takes time. It's not easy just to walk into a team, especially a big team like Liverpool, the Premier League, the toughest league in the world, and all of a sudden just make it happen.
Let me ask you a question about missing pre-season. Have you ever missed pre-season? You've been waiting to sign for a new club. You've not been training with a club. How long did it take you to get back to full fitness?
Fitness is different, because fitness you can get fit within, I say, three weeks. You can get fit, but match fitness is a total different thing. You can't replicate that in pre-season training. You can't replicate that in a training ground. You have to be playing competitive football week in, week out to get that fitness.
So can you explain why Alexander Isak, British record transfer signing, wasn't fit enough to feature from the bench while his side were chasing the game?
Look, I reckon Slot saw that where the game was going. He probably in his mind, I'm thinking, I can't see a way back right now. We're just not at the races. Liverpool, that was probably, in my view, Liverpool's worst performance of the season. I've not seen him play like that for a very, very long time. And maybe the players, what was waving the white flag. And I think maybe the manager too, and thought, Isak's just come back from fitness. Is it Is it clever to risk him?
You can't say that the manager was maybe waving the white flag. Like I said to you earlier, that defeat basically means you can't win the title. He's got to go and try and get something from it, even if he's 3 down. You can't wave the white flag. You're the Liverpool boss. You played for Liverpool. Did you ever wave the white flag in a game? Do you ever feel like you guys, even if you were 3-0 down, had given up on trying to get a result?
It's a long season. It's a very, very long season. And the fact that, he's just coming back from injury, he's not
You're making
conditioning.
excuses for him.
Is he going to
I get it. You love Liverpool. You made a lot of excuses.
Is he going to throw him in to think, well, he just come back, rush him into this game? What's the point? Let's just save him for after the international break.
Where do you think they'll finish?
Look, the top 4, 100%. 100%. They're going to be in the top 4. Can they challenge for the title? I think they need to start, after the international break, picking up their form and getting their act together. Otherwise, top 4 it is.
Okay, that's a view of Liverpool former winger Jermaine Pennant. Up next, we're going to take a closer look at the news that Marco Silva's future at Fulham is now unsure. Stay with us. You're listening to Kick Off on talkSPORT. I'm Hugh Woozencroft alongside former Liverpool and Stoke winger Jermaine Pennant. Darts world number one Luke Humphries joined talkSPORT's Harry Durham for an exclusive interview ahead of his appearance on the legendary TV show Bullseye. Head over to the talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel now to watch the full interview with Luke. Remember to subscribe as well. You can keep across the talkSPORT network this Christmas for our extensive and expert coverage from Ali Pali as well. And while we're at it, don't forget tomorrow on talkSPORT, we're going to bring you a huge grudge match on the paddle court. Andy Goldstein and Darren Bent are going to be taking on Jamie O'Hara and Gabby Agbon-Lahore for the bragging rights. You can watch the whole thing live on talkSPORT's dedicated YouTube stream for the game, or listen to Danny Kelly and Charlie Baker from 1 p.m. for live updates from our very own Ollie Klink. Paddle, we've got middle class, guys. We do paddle on talkSPORT now. You thought we would, we used to get labelled as the white van man station. No. If you play paddle, talkSPORT is for you.
I'm upset.
£80 to book a court where I live, but anyway, whatever.
I'm upset that I've not got the call up. I think, do you know what? Yeah, talkSPORT.
I'm not going to lie, Andy Goldstein's playing, so if you should go down because I reckon he'll pull a hammy or something. I mean,
I'm really upset. As in, there's a lot of things that I'm not getting picked for.
You good at paddle?
Yes. my talent is getting wasted.
Very humble.
And talkSPORT are not noticing it.
Where do you play paddle? You don't have to name the exact court, but
well, David Lloyd, my gym's got a paddle, and obviously when I go abroad, we always seem to find a nice little paddle court at the resort.
David Lloyd, that's nice.
Very nice.
Yeah. Spain, you can play paddle out there.
As in Rhodes last week.
It's like £7 to play in Spain, but it's £80 in England. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, I was in Rhodes last week.
I don't know what we're doing, but
paddle, so I'm good. talkSPORT, come on. Bosses, what are you doing?
Well, we're going to see tomorrow how good the others are. If they're terrible, you got a
I've got a case.
I'm
going to watch, and if I see some dreb, I'm going to have.
It's down away, Canary Wharf, I think it is tomorrow. So if you're in Canary Wharf tomorrow, keep an eye out.
That's far.
Paddle courts, you might see some of the talkSPORT great. What do you mean it's far? You live in London.
I live in North London.
So it's not that far away.
Yeah, it is.
Right, so he's disappointed he's not there, but it's too far for him to go. All right.
Go to watch. Go there watching.
Paddle's great, and it's booming all over the country, so that's fantastic. But, if you're on the British Paddle Association, try and bring the prices down. Let's make it accessible for people, all right?
Sorry, I think that James Morrow is going to pull a calf, mate.
I don't see Andy
can't get around that
lasting.
court.
Andy, Jamie, that's what I'm saying, mate. Go down.
Court, mate.
One of them's getting injured. Right, let's talk Fulham next. talkSPORT understands that Fulham are weighing up Marco Silva's future. I was surprised to hear this one. Reports are that tensions are mounting behind the scenes at Craven Cottage due to Silva's reluctance to sign a new deal. As it stands, the Portuguese is going to be a free agent when his current contract expires at the end of the season. Now, Silva has never been shy to voice his frustration over the club's lack of spending and admitted he expected more from their summer transfer window. It is thought the Fulham hierarchy are also concerned that the Cottagers could be dragged into a relegation battle after Saturday's limp 2-0 defeat at Everton left them a point above the bottom three. So let's deal with the two things, how Fulham are playing this season, but also the new deal and the reluctance to sign a new deal. I think we should start with the contract. Should Marco Silva be signing a new contract at Fulham if he isn't getting what he wants from the club?
Well, if you're not getting what you want, then no. Because it's going to. Why are you going to put yourself in misery for the next 3 years and not getting what you want?
It's not really like that for a football manager.
I know. I'm just, you know what I'm saying. As in, if he's not getting, the signings, they're not being flourishing in the transfer market and, spending and bringing in players that he wants to bring in to lift and move the club in the right direction. If they're not getting none of that, then why would he waste his talents when there's definitely some suitors out there who will take him?
Yeah, that's what I think. I think keep your options open. If you're Marco Silva, I would be saying it if it was a player in the last year of their deal, even if you're wanted by the club that you're at, surely get to the point where you look at your options. It's a short career. I mean, for Marco Silva, if Fulham's form continues, his reputation might dip. So who knows? If there's a big club out there who wants him, no disrespect to Fulham, but if he's going to go maybe to European football or he's going to get an opportunity on the continent, he's got to keep his options open. Why Fulham would want to get rid of him on the basis that he hasn't signed a new deal, I'm not sure. Certainly on the basis of results. If Fulham are going to be dragged into the relegation picture, it looks like we could have some unexpected names going down. The last couple of years, only the promoted sides have gone down. This season, certainly Wolves are in that conversation. Who knows who might join them? We know West Ham are down there at the moment, Nottingham Forest as well. So it could be Fulham too. in that regard, that's just the normal sacking of a manager, isn't it? If you're not getting the results, you're going to lose your job.
Yeah, well, we've seen that throughout history. We've seen it recently, and we're going to continue to see that. If you are not picking up results, it's a result business, then your job is in jeopardy. And don't expect to be there come the end of the season if you can't pick up wins.
Yeah, of course, in the summer, it was reported that he was linked with Saudi Arabia, and that would obviously be a money-spinning move for him. Let's hear from the host of the Fulhamish podcast, Elizabeth Barnard, who was on H&J earlier, discussing her feelings around Marco Silva's future.
I find the news very deflating. It was the opposite of my heart skipping a beat in the excitement of a new manager. It was, really, really deflating, just because Marco Silva, what he's done for Fulham over the past 4 and a bit years has been unlike any other manager in the time that I've been following the club. And I think it would be incredibly risky to get rid of him at this point. I'm really, really hoping that he survives this and that the Khans don't pull the trigger and fire him. I think it would be really bad for the club.
Would it be a big risk?
Yes. What he's done for the club, then to try and think another manager can do the same or take you even further on what you've got, it's a risk. Getting a manager is always a risk, a new manager, but one who's been really successful for Fulham and brought a lot of joy to the Fulham fans and got them places where they didn't think they'd ever be. To lose him would be a risk in my eyes.
Yeah, I definitely think take your time, see how things pan out, even if you're going to finish in the bottom half of the Premier League. And as long as you survive, you can get to the summer and everyone can make a decision then on what the next best steps are. If that means he goes, that means he stays, whatever it is, I think he needs to be given time because he's obviously been in the role for a while. The players know him well. And although they're not playing great football at the moment, they can turn a corner. We've seen it before and get themselves up the Premier League. So just settle down a little bit. Just one more question to ask you on Fulham. It's being reported that Nuno Espirito Santo is keen to bring Adama Traore from Fulham to West Ham in January. That's after he reportedly fell out with Edu at Nottingham Forest over signing Traore in the summer. Would that be a good move? Why is Nuno Espirito Santo so obsessed with having Adama Traore?
I think it would be a good move because when you've got a manager who's so adamant on getting a certain player, a certain individual, then it's for a reason. I think we know how powerful, probably one of the quickest players I've seen once he gets going. If you can nurture that and just bring in some end product, there's a good player there.
I'm just intrigued as to where he's going to play because Jared Bowen's down the right-hand side. Adama Traore's done his best work down the right-hand side. Bowen's your best player. So where's he going to play if he goes to West Ham?
Listen, you can play him on the left.
Yeah?
Absolutely. Roadrunner. You can play him.
Just because of the speed?
Speed in this game right now is, if you've got speed, you can go a long way. You can play him down the middle. He's got a lot to.
Our Fulham supporting producer there, Alex, telling me in his ear, there's no end product when it
this is what I said. If Nuno obviously can see something there, so he thinks I can get an end product out of him. When he was at Wolves and he was with Nuno, there was a little bit of end product. There was a lot of talk. Oh, this guy looks good. So I guess Nuno thinks he can get something out of him.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your views on Fulham, Jermaine Pennant. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, gambleaware.org. Up next, we're going to look at how the leadership qualities of captains in the Premier League have evolved over time. That's next. The latest episode of the talkSPORT Daily podcast is available now as Everton manager David Moyes joins Jeff Stelling and Adrian Durham to discuss his ambitions at the Toffees, how their new stadium compares to Goodison Park, and he also gave his thoughts on England's World Cup chances. If you want to hear more, the talkSPORT Daily is available on all podcast platforms right now. And this is Kickoff. I am Hugh Woozencroft alongside the former Liverpool winger Jermaine Pennant. Remember, Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy coming up very shortly with the Sports Bar from 10 p.m. Give them a call if you want to have a chat. It's going to be entertaining as always, I'm sure. 03717 22 3344. I'm sure they'll react to what the PGMO had to say about Virgil van Dijk's disallowed goal at the weekend. But to end our conversation this evening, Jermaine, we're going to talk about how leadership has changed in the Premier League. Bruno Fernandes has divided the Manchester United fan base as captain, but on the whole, the majority have said he's been successful. If he was to leave, you think about who would be the obvious choice to replace him, and you're not quite sure. Even so, when you think of someone like Bruno Fernandes, you realise that the leadership qualities and roles of a captain in the top flight of English football has changed from even when you were playing, where we had those big figures. Games were maybe a little bit more physical. In that case, you needed someone with the armband on who was prepared to lead from the front. In that regard, you don't really need that anymore. So what do you need from a current Premier League captain?
Well, it's got to be the best player.
Is that it? That's that simple?
I think that's the way we're seeing it. As in, like,
that's like school.
Well, yeah, no disrespect to Saka, but would you say he's a captain? Would you say he's a leader? His performances is probably one of the best players. But that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing the best players take the armband, not necessarily being a leader.
No, I see. Listen, I see.
That is literally simple as that.
You can lead in many ways, including, some would say, being the best player. We've seen that in bygone eras as well. Certain captains were just so good every Saturday or Sunday when they walked over the white line that it almost stood out. They had to be the captain because they led by that example. They would always show up and give their best and play at a high level.
This is how it's changed. If you look back, Arsenal, the invincible team, I didn't see Thierry Henry take the armband because the captaincy was totally different back then. It wasn't about, school having the best player. You're the best player. You put the captain. It was about being vocal, being able to lead, being able to pull the team together when things get really tough. People the players who respect you. There was so much to be a captain. You had to have a lot of qualities. You also had to be good on the ball and a good player.
Yeah,
but you had to have a lot of qualities to be a captain.
It's interesting you mentioned Arsenal. Let's hear from a former Arsenal defender in the shape of Martin Keown, who was on White and Jordan yesterday, talking about the captaincy and leadership skills of a former Arsenal midfielder in Granit Xhaka, who, of course, Arsenal faced when they played Sunderland at the weekend.
I really like the way they've come up and just said, you know what, we're not going to try and pass the ball out from the back, which they can do at times when Granit tells them to, because he's there to suggesting to everyone, right, keep it. Okay, go long. He's telling everybody, orchestrating on the pitch. I've not seen anything like that, Jim, ever before from a player who's so important. He has to stay fit, Granit Xhaka. If he doesn't stay fit, they will slip down the table.
Now, midfield captains have, I think, had that responsibility for a while. Maybe we see it from the touchlines quite visibly with someone like Granit Xhaka, or maybe he does it more because he's vastly experienced at this level compared to most of that Sunderland team. But being a coach on the field of play, is that in many ways more important than what we've seen in recent eras in the Premier League?
It's massive. Being able to, having the ability to also play the game, but also coach the game, coach your teammates. Because like I said, Granit, he will be the most experienced in that Sunderland dressing room. So when he's going into these games, these big games, some of these players, it's their first time having that experience. And to look up to your captain and you seeing him barking out orders, you do that straight away. And that's just going to help you as a player, your performance, your confidence. And that's a great captain. That's leadership. And that's why Sunderland are probably doing so well, because they've got a very good captain there. They see him fight, they see him argue, they see him get into tackles. And that's what you want to see.
The fighting and the arguing.
All of that. As a captain, leading by an example we thrive off that.
We don't see many shouters and screamers as Premier League captains anymore. And maybe that's because they're not allowed to kind of get in the referee's face in the way that we've seen in previous eras as well. But it's interesting you mentioned the fight and the aggression level and stuff like that. In terms of the captains that you played with, was that a big factor in terms of why they got the armband?
Well, there was, like I said, there was loads of factors, but yeah, that was one of it. The way they would lead by example, the way they would lead on the pitch, the way we respected them, and obviously it helps if they're putting in performances that make you go wow. All those things will give you the captaincy.
When you think of the characters, the personalities, were they born leaders, do you think?
Yeah. You're born to lead. You're born to coach players and be a manager or whatnot. And some players are just got bags of ability, but just quiet and like to be told what to do, where to be. And then you've got the people like I always talk to, but he's my favourite and best captain is Steven Gerrard. You've got people who, from the get-go was probably barking out orders to their school friends when they played football. And that's just in you.
What was he like during the week as a captain, around the training ground, on the training pitch, but obviously around the training ground as a whole?
No,
Did you feel his influence?
Oh, yeah.
In that way too?
Yeah. It was like if, I was a bit of a joker at times, but then if I would walk into a room and he was there, I'll tone it down. I'll tone it down, and because I didn't want to, him to look up and think I'm messing about. I want to, all right, let's just tone it down and then act normal.
When he's gone.
And when he's
like
gone,
a teacher comes in the room.
Because
he's meant to be your teammate. He's not the manager.
No, but I respected him more and listened to him more than I did Rafa. Rafa would give me sometimes instructions and I'd be like, okay, yeah. But if Stevie shouted at me on the pitch, I'm listening and I'm doing it there and then. But he was also a cool guy as well. He was also someone you can talk to and chill. He wasn't like you looking at him and talking to him and think, oh my God, he was cool, he was friendly. But when it mattered, he would step up.
Let's hear from the Aston Villa boss, Unai Emery, because he's been talking about the order of his captains in the squad.
The first captain is John McGinn. And we decided how we are managing as well the next captain. And usually we have another captain, where captain as well, Emiliano Martinez, second captain, but now, speaking with him, prefer to get him back, and Konsa is the next one, with Tyrone Mings, with Ollie Watkins. And normally we are managing it like that. And today, he's getting one step back. Emiliano Martinez is Konsa.
So that was basically Unai Emery explaining that his vice captain has gone from being Emi Martinez to Ezri Konsa. Emi Martinez has dropped back into the kind of third leadership group, and he mentioned a few other players. Is that common to have these different leadership hierarchies and groups?
Usually have a captain, but usually the vice captain can change hands here and there. If one's, there could be rumours like Martinez wasn't going to be there. So they may have changed it on the basis of that. We don't know if you're going to be here or not. So let's put someone who's stable and who we know is going to be here for the next 3 or 4 years. So yeah, that does change. But the actual captain doesn't really change often. There must be a big issue or big impact for that decision to be made.
We're about to change captains here on talkSPORT. Jermaine Pennant, it's been a pleasure with you. By the way, Chelsea 5-0 winners in the Women's Champions League. You get all the details in the headlines very shortly. Appreciate you being with me. We got the Sports Bar coming up shortly. Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy will be with you. 03717 223344 to join the conversation.